Okay, we can see you now.
Okay. I'm just gonna.
We're in a different conference room on a different floor today, so let me get this working.
So if you guys can hear me and see us, and we can go ahead and get the meeting going.
Okay, I'm gonna call the meeting to order. It's 9:01 a.m. on June the 29th, 2026. Maria, can you, well, let's do the pledge or just do an invocation. Let's pray. Most kind and gracious Heavenly Father, thank you for allowing us together here today to do the deeds of the state and for the citizens for the Anatomical Committee. Bless us and guide us in our direction. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Let's go and do the pledges.
We don't have flags here, so we'll just
That's
look at
okay.
y'all.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
To the flag of the
United States of America
and to the republic
for
one
which it
nation
stands,
under God,
indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
And the Texas flag.
honor
the
The
Texas
Texas flag.
I pledge allegiance to
the Texas, one state
under God.
one and indivisible.
Okay. Maria, can you do a roll call for us?
Okay, so we have Fulton,
Here.
Clark,
Here.
Owens,
Here.
Houston,
Here.
Rubseman,
let's see.
Not here.
Brandon's not here.
Jones,
Here.
and Ollie.
Here.
We have a quorum.
I don't.
The only one that's missing is Brandon.
And I haven't heard from Brandon. So do we have any public comment?
I do. I have one. I know that there's been some inquiries about the videos. We had some difficulties downloading the videos, or IT department was able to get them. I think there's 2 videos that are missing that we're going to be uploading later on today or tomorrow. But that was the reason as to why they were not posted.
Okay.
Maria, can we show the list of people on the side? Because I don't know that has everybody that if they have their hand up to speak.
I don't see any hands up on the side.
Okay.
Okay, we're gonna move on. Review and discussion of reports and updates from the work groups. Any of the work groups need a report?
Yes, we have our work group on inspections over the last few weeks on inspection processes, checklists, those kind of things.
Okay, good.
I'm happy to
Can you share?
Yeah, if it's okay, folks, I'm going to share my screen. Let me just kind of prepare this real quick to make sure I can do this. Maria, may I have the screen for a minute?
Yeah, you should be able to share. I don't see any.
Let's see why it's not bringing up. Oh, there it is. Okay, it's hidden in a little thing. Okay, got it. Give me 1 second here. Everybody see that there with my folder?
Yes.
Okay, so the concept here for the inspections, and mind you, these are 80-90% done for the group to look at and discuss today, was to philosophy behind it being, if you're the group being inspected, what should I be ready for? I mean, what are they checking for? What's the funeral commission going to look for? What's required by law? Can you guys please give me a checklist so I can at least have an idea what you're looking for, right? So there's that perspective. And then there's a perspective of when our inspector goes from the funeral commission to that facility, what is he or she inspecting and what is he or she looking for, and what things can come up or be flagged. And so giving them a proper, thorough checklist. I broke it up into 4 categories: NATO's purpose-built facilities and non-purpose built or temporary facilities and will body programs. So those are the 4 organizations that either need to be ready for an inspection or could be inspected by the funeral commission. And so let's start with the purpose-built facilities. I think this will help kind of set the tone and guide us as to what we're looking at. And so the first part is, let's pick my place, Met to Market. What should they be ready on a checklist to look at to say, okay, this is what Kyle Bass or any of the guys from the inspection group are going to show up and ask me to be prepared about and look at. So let me bring this up for everybody to glance at. And if there's any issue with seeing any of this, please let me know. I'm going to take my video off here and get it out of the way and increase the size of all this.
And Dr. Ali, are these the ones that you provided the staff?
I sure did. This is the ones that about a week and a half or two ago I sent to everybody. That was part of the work group and to you and Maria. So this is in essence an anatomical facility that's purpose built. So it was built for skills labs, those kind of things, and what you should be ready for in your checklist and have kind of the right people designated and understanding what it is that you're going to be looked at. And so it kind of goes a little bit at the top, just telling you what you're looking at every 3 years for that per the law, and what a purpose-built facility is right here in the kind of lighter gray area, the brick and mortar specifically built for. And so it says, we're not talking about hotels or convention centers here or non-purpose built or temporary facilities. And so you can fill out your name, you can have your registration form, you can have your DRI on there. So this is stuff for you to be ready. So when the inspectors show up and they say, well, who's your DRI? You kind of have it all here in front of you. So it's in essence like a self-audit you can do on yourself. And there are a lot of boxes here. There are some that will be non-applicable. So as we read through these, please give me any comments or edits that we may want to see or do. And Chair O'Peel, if anything doesn't fit right with 691 or TAC or Senate bill, please holler at me as we go through this. But obviously, are you a current TFSC registered authorized anatomical facility? We would click yes. Have you passed an inspection before? Yes. And I can actually put the date of January 2026 was the last time we were inspected. On-site cycle, understood that it's every 3 years. You kind of get that. A lot of these are general. It's like, no duh. But at the same time, you may have your lab director getting ready for this and they need to remember all this because they may not know every single rule and law. Who is your DRI? For us, it could be myself. It could be our lab director who's in charge of all the cadaveric work. Have you paid up your fees or you're up to date with the Funeral Commission? Or you're actually on their public registry so you can go to the website and take a look and say, I'm listed there, good. And is everything you do in your anatomical facility, and I know I got Will Body Programmer NATO on here, is it authorized? Are you doing the right things there? You're not doing pay-per-view kind of stuff or weird things that will get you in trouble. So let me stop there for a second. Does any of that in section 1 not register or not make sense, or does that all look okay for you guys?
Dr. Ali, can you send this to us afterwards, or can Maria send it so that we can look at it a little bit more detail? Or
yeah, I sent it to everybody that was on the work group and Maria and Chair Opiola a few weeks ago. I don't know if it got sent to everybody else because I can't send it to everybody. Otherwise, the work group quorum will get broken. But it is there. Maria, I don't know if you were able to send that to everybody.
No, but we will. We'll get it sent up to everybody.
Okay, and what I can do is if we make edits here, I can reload these back to Maria so she can give you the most edited, up-to-date version.
Only comment, Dr. Ali, in that first section.
Yes, yes, sir, please.
I know what your intent was, or I feel I know your intent was with the last item. All authorized activities occur at an inspected anatomical facility. Should we be a little more granular and say that all activities conducted by our approved anatomical facility are either within ours or an inspected? Because I believe the intent of that statement is that if I'm doing anything, it's either going to be in my facility, or if I have to go outside of my facility, it's going to be in another approved anatomical facility or Will Body or NATO, if it was larger than what my facility could.
Right. I think does the 3 categories there for now, remember, this is the purpose-built brick and mortar inspection checklist, right? So it's not for a temporary facility. Inspected anatomical facility should cover every single brick and mortar that was created for this, including the med schools, dental schools, the NATOs, those kind of things. was there I just want to make sure I understand what you're asking for. All authorized activity occurs at an inspected anatomical facility, will body program, or in NATO. How would you like to see the wording on that?
If this one's going to be specific to the brick and mortar anatomical facilities, is it best to just keep it as such without the WBP or the NADO?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great idea. I could take out the will body programs and the NATOs because it is truly about anatomical facilities that are purpose built. So if I did that, would that kind of make that a little bit more clear?
I think it would be for those
Okay.
that are just anatomical facilities completing this.
Perfect. And I'm just going to put a little asterisk that there was a change there so we know later. Okay, yeah, I think that's great. On number 2 is a tissue source verification. So once again, this is the lab director at my facility saying, okay, are my tissue suppliers identified by name, coming from a will body program or NATO? And then on here, like if you have an anatomical division at the medical school, are we using the bodies from our will body program, and it names that program? So even though you may be at UT Southwestern, the lab is using UT Southwestern bodies, that it just says, yes, we're getting it from UT Southwestern will body program. And once again, this is kind of like a double checking yourself. Do you know where your tissue is coming from? Is it an approved NATO will body program? And that's what the second line here says, that you're directly verifying with the Funeral Commission that this is a registered, approved world body program or NATO that I'm receiving this tissue from, and the date and method of how you've verified that. And once again, this is internal for you to say, listen, I went to their website on this day, I double checked it, everything was there, everything was clear, I did my part, and I made sure it was a verified organization, whether you have to call the commission or go to their website when we have the opportunity for the website to be up. It does talk about AATB accreditation on here since that's currently in the law. And then if it's a conditional, to be able to call the Funeral Commission or look at the website to make sure that that's a true conditional NATO. And then for each donor specimen, the completed package that should show up as the chain of custody, serology, donor consent, donor acknowledgement form, all the forms that are required by the Funeral Commission that each donor should be receiving and following that donor. And so, this is putting the onus on both groups, the people receiving the bodies at the anatomical facility, and also making sure that your NATO or your will body program has all these documents. And if I understand correctly, at some point, you should be able to go to the website, put that unique identifier number in there to see that it has been registered, it is cleared for transfer to facilities and ready to go.
I only have one. That's the very first one in this section, Dr. Ali.
Yes,
And it would be similar to the last statement. Should we make this where it says a facility using its own will body program name that program? Since this is specific to the brick and mortar facilities only, is that last statement necessary since they would not be procuring their own cadavers, receiving a direct donation?
Well, so correct me if I'm wrong. Are there some will body programs that are completely separate from the anatomical facility that's going to be used at? Like
That
you
would be
may
a
get
different
the
form
will.
though, right?
Not.
Well, all
They
I'm
would-
saying here is for the lab director of the anatomical facility, let's say it's in a different building from where the actual bodies in the will body program is located. Once that's transferred over to your anatomical facility, does your anatomical facility lab director know that it came from the will body program? Does he or she know how to name which group it came from, be able to double check? I know it sounds redundant, but we can take the will body program NATO out again, and just kind of say you need to verify where your tissue is coming from, that it's coming from a registered registered group.
No, I agree with the will body and NATO, period. I'm thinking that the last sentence is not necessary because a facility would, if it's registered as an independent standalone brick and mortar facility, it's not going to be directly related with a will body program or a NATO.
Gotcha.
So they would name, even if it was say I'll use Texas Tech. Say if Texas Tech had a secondary facility that was not part of their Institute of Anatomical Sciences, they would still be having to file for a transfer through TFSC and name the will body program at Texas Tech as their supplier. That wouldn't be considered using their own will body program.
Correct. Okay, I took that out. Thank you for that info on
Mhm.
that. I think the other 4 or 5 categories below it are pretty straightforward. That you don't accept any specimens that are not a TFSC registered and approved will body program or NATO, and that at anatomical facilities, I know it's different when they're formaldehyde, so we're not talking about that, but you've reviewed the serology and that you're not putting out cadavers with hepatitis or HIV at the anatomical facilities, unless, like I said, these are formaldehyde, and that's a different thing for will body programs in some of the medical schools or dental schools, and they do that differently. The next part is, what should my physical plant or building have or do or comply with? A permanent dedicated receipt area, preparation area, storage, dissection areas within a controlled facility, such as a procurement room or those kind of things. And sometimes some of these things, you don't have to have every single one of these. It's saying that, you should have a dedicated receipt area. You should have a dedicated area to prepare and store and dissection, those kind of things. You shouldn't have all of these and no storage. How are you running an anatomical facility if you don't have storage, right? So most of this is like, check, check, check. I have all that. This is always the most contentious one for a lot of people, and that's the mechanical air handling certified to deliver 7 air exchanges. I've had people call me, stakeholders call me and ask me about this, saying where in the Senate bill does it say, or where in any law or rule does it say you have to have 7 or more? And my understanding about the 7 or more air exchanges, when I talked to some of the SAB people years ago, was, they're doing a lot of formaldehyde, and a lot of the bodies are preserved, and so there's a lot of fumes from the aldehydes that you definitely want to get out of the air, as they are cancer causing. And so there was always talk about air exchange. Past that, I had heard some of the professors talk about, well, what about airborne pathogens, this and that? Let me just stop here. Is there something in any law or rule that says you have to have 7 air exchanges? I do have this 25 TAC 479.3. Chair Opiola, is there anything in the Senate bill that demands or states that you have to have this air exchange?
So this was a SAB rule, and we've carried forth the SAB rules. And so if y'all want to change that, we would have to have a rule change to do that.
Well, why don't we throw this up for discussion in here? I know there's different organizations and
Which
groups.
we're open to. I mean, if the medical science doesn't support 7 air exchanges, then that's what we got you guys here for, to tell us that. Maybe, things changed since the SAB adopted that.
The part of the reason it is what the first half of Dr. Ali had stated, what he had learned from old SAP people and other professors and instructors, did have to do with the use of formaldehyde was part of it. The other is that an air system that is set up to have specific air exchanges is utilizing 100% outside air with a separate exhaust system that does not recycle any of the contented space back through the general HVAC system. So, for instance, you would not have lab air that would be recycled and possibly reintroduced into a lecture hall or lecture space. So it also has to do with kind of, even though it's not pathogenic as in reference to bloodborne pathogens with like HIV, hepatitis, you're not reintroducing any type of biologics back into any general population space is the reason for the 7. And it also is why it's so low as far as the number of air exchanges. So it'd be similar to like an OR system in a hospital, does not recirculate into the general air conditioning system into your other spaces. So that's why that was in there, even though you're not utilizing perfused, as in formaldehyde based, you're not reintroducing that atmosphere into a general population, so to speak.
Hey, Dr. Ali, that's actually the facility standards and inspections came from 25 TAC 479.3.
Yeah, I have it here in that light gray color. Do you have that in front of you to read it out loud?
Yeah, we moved that to 22 TAC 206.13 last month.
Okay.
So that's where it's at now. And of course, as we sit here, the Secretary of State's website's down. I can't see it. I have it on my computer.
Oh, that's right.
Let me see if I can pull it up from my own files here. It says under subsection C, air exchange, all dissecting and preparation areas must have sufficient air handling machinery to provide for not less than 7 full changes of air per hour. Then it goes on to say all hazardous chemicals shall be stored in a separate and approved facility or area. Explosive or flammable chemicals must be properly stored. And then the last part of subsection C is dangerous fumes. Particular attention must be given to holding the concentrations of all dangerous or hazardous fumes to an absolute minimum. Suitable air handling equipment, appropriate storage, and careful handling are essential.
Okay. So it's currently in the rules. I guess I'd like to hear from the NATO groups because I would say the vast majority of the specimens to hotels and conventions are usually supplied by our approved NATOs, and what y'all's thoughts are as you probably work with a lot of these hotels and convention centers.
Well, I can speak from the TFSC side. We have encountered a few issues, but nothing that has not been resolved. So I don't, if you think that there's a problem, we haven't faced that problem yet. I know that one of the things is maybe whoever the hotel facility contacted to do the inspection on the air exchanges didn't know how to do it. They were able to find somebody else that was able to do them, and therefore the inspection moved forward. So other than I don't see what other issues NATOs may have encountered, but as far as inspections, that's what we had encountered.
Yeah, when we've done the inspections for hotels, we've brought in what they call scrubbers to meet that demand. But as far as AATB was concerned, it was put into there was for the room, like if you had a donor that you're using that was infused with noxious chemicals, you had to have the air exchanges at 15. And that was from a guidance document where there was a known tuberculosis patient, which is essentially an airborne isolation infection control room, which I think is overkill because we obviously do the donor risk assessment interview, and we don't take donors who've had tuberculosis in the past. So when we had a work group with AATB, it was removed for the air exchanges to be 15 to just have air exchanges. It wasn't a number, but it still remained at 15 in the preparation area when you received the donor before you did all the testing, etc.
So it sounds like from what Maria was saying that most groups that have done them at hotels or convention centers have met this air exchange by bringing in specific equipment. And it sounds like most of the organizations that may hold these a little bit more often than just once in a while can meet these specifications. Is that am I hearing that correctly from everybody?
Yes, sir. That's what I'm understanding.
Dr. Ali, am I able to comment here, or is that not the right time? I'm sorry, it's Tom Dahl here.
Who's Tom with?
InnoVed.
So is Tom like a public speaker?
No. Work with a tissue provider and equipment provider for cadaver-based courses.
Chairman O'Biella, can we let him comment?
It's up to you as chair. You already took public comment, but you have the option to open it up as a public meeting.
One of the members.
I'm sorry, what was that?
We couldn't hear you.
What do my members want? Do y'all want to let him speak?
Yes.
I'm okay.
I have no problem with it. Yes.
Okay, Tom, go ahead.
Thank you. I had just two questions on this. One is the rule that was read stated dissection and preparation area. And so there's a question that's come up with different stakeholders as to how that's defined or what's considered a dissection or preparation area in regard to this rule. Is the same as like where a course is being conducted, where the surgical training is happening? Is that considered a dissection and preparation area?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Okay. And then the other question that's come up specifically for the non-purpose built facilities is with the air exchange certification or rating is with the brick and mortars, it's every 3 years when they get inspected. With the non-purpose built facilities, are they expected to have this certification done at every inspection, or is once a year, twice a year, once every 2 years? What's considered acceptable for having the air exchange certification done at these facilities, like hotels and convention centers?
Well, if I may speak to it, the way we had set it forth is that per event, because not every event is being done by the same vendor that is providing all of the activity, and not every event is not I guess you say proctored by the same individual. So just like the mention that Jason Owens had a while ago about having to add scrubbers in a specific space, if the prior individual is not present for that same event, they're not going to know that they needed to meet that with additional scrubbers for that space. So that's why we have made it that per event occurring at a non-brick and mortar standalone has to be done per requested event, inspected as such. Also to make sure that the hotel hasn't changed in staff, personnel, and to maintain the integrity of the space itself so that everybody is on the same page of what has to occur for each and every event.
I see, because I understand the proctors and the staff at the events might change, but the facility doesn't change. Like, for lack of a better word, the San Antonio Convention Center doesn't change.
Right. And the San Antonio Convention Center, I'm sure they have quite a bit of contracted labor that comes in for events as well. So not every individual is going to be aware of the standards that are for said event. So that's why we placed it as such.
Even if the on file, the convention center shows that they had a certification done in the last 6 months or something, as part of like their facility files.
If they have that justification and information, it still has to be produced for the inspection.
Sure, it has to be produced, but the TFC isn't going to require a new certification every event. Is the question from the stakeholders?
Hey, can I comment on that? Now, if you're going from ballroom 1 to ballroom 2 on 2 different days on 2 different events, that's what we're getting at on your air circulations, because all these different convention centers use different labs or different ballrooms and convention halls for these labs. I can see on the hotels, but like on the mobile unit, are we saying that too, Jason and Charlie, that because the mobile unit is going to stay the same no matter what? Because that's going to come up
on the mobile units that's purpose built.
Right. Yeah, that'd be a different. Can I make a comment?
So the mobile is going to be the purpose built and not.
So,
okay.
Go ahead, Dr. Ali.
Yeah, if I could just make a comment on this, I think what Tom's trying to say is look, you look at ballroom 1, right, or ballroom A. It's a configured space with the 4 walls, the low bearing walls, and you have ventilation in that area. And if that general ballroom has a certified AC group come in, do the exchange ventilation, and they say it meets the 7 and above, then that's good for ballroom A for the next year, 2, 3, whatever, unless they actually change low bearing walls and move things around, right? Every event that occurs in ballroom A now just needs to pull that documentation from the hotel, but they still have a list of all the other, you're bringing up personnel changing. That's different from the air exchange. We're talking about the physical plant of the room being able to remove that air and supply it with new air. So if ballroom A is good to go, from my perspective, as long as they don't change anything, it's like my anatomical facility. Make sure the next one's done at the next inspection in 3 years, and make sure that paperwork is up to date, right? Unless you made a big physical change. So whether you're at a convention center, ballroom A, ballroom B, whatever, that should be kept on file to show that that meets that requirement. Now, if the specific lab has something extra to it, then scrubbers are brought in, other things are brought in to help ventilate or exchange the room or clean the air. That to me is fine. The only thing I'm more concerned about is the ventilation exchange, what that definition means. If you're just recycling the air between ballroom A that has a lab and ballroom B that has a wedding, that to me is a bit of an issue. and how they're separating that, and can they separate it? And if they can't, if ballroom A and B are in the same circulation system, then ballroom B may need to be offline that day while they're doing this lab, even though I know everybody wants to use their space to create revenue. So that's where I lean towards is, if you got something that says that physical room is set at this ventilation exchange and is truly bringing in new air, it's not recirculating it to the room next door, then you're good to go for the next 2 to 3 years, as long as you don't change that room, right? But if you're recirculating the air between ballroom A and the kitchen area and the place where everybody's eating on the other side, then that may be an issue.
Well, and the other purpose for the certification each time is that, for instance, Dr. Ali, I know if you had one AC unit go down, you're going to have that maintained and put in. But in a ballroom that can be opened up, they could have a unit that is not functioning in a specific space and are robbing from another with a divider wall open to maintain. So we need some way to verify that all units that provided the circulation for that ballroom space are operational, so that we are maintaining the integrity of the original exchange.
So you would need to see like which unit, like some kind of serial number or something, was certified and on what date, and then there would be some period of time upon which that unit had to be recertified. So, like you're saying, it couldn't.
The rule that is out for comment right now, that is up for our adoption at our August meeting, requires event-based inspection for non-site purpose-built anatomical facilities. So this would be required at every single event, that even if it was certified to deliver those air changes, that it's in operation at the time of the inspection.
Yes, in operation. But are they going to want to see, a question that the stakeholders are all having is, that the hotels and conventions want to know is, do they have to have someone come in and recertify at every inspection? Or is an inspection from 6 months ago, a year ago, 2 years ago, as long as it's the same air handler, going to be accepted?
Our understanding of how it's written is it would be at the time of inspection. So yes, they would have to provide that. Because here's the thing, you could make a change to that unit tomorrow after it's inspected.
Indeed. Yes. So you'd have to prove that the units that are in use have been inspected.
Yeah,
or certified.
Not changed from the last inspection.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah, and I think, Tom, that will help out with the sense of, some of these organizations set up these conferences a year in advance, right? And so as they do everything, the week of, as we'll get to the other sheet when we get to the non-purpose facilities of their their event form they have to turn in, that this is something that's done the week of, right? Before the lab, that week before, bring in a certified group that says everything is still functional, everything's still good to go, all the AC units are fine. And I would imagine within that 3 to 5 day period before the lab that everything should still hopefully continue to work. And that's where you have to rely on the hotels not to lie about the fact that, okay, 2 of our units just went down. I would imagine you can tell if they go down, if it's pretty warm or hot in there.
Yeah.
So Dr. Ali, we're not talking about not having to do an inspection every time. Obviously, we still have to do an inspection every time. We're just talking about proving that the air exchanges are on file. We can go back and check those, right?
Yeah, if you can prove your air exchanges are right, then that's part of the inspection.
Okay, and I guess the question is, how long would a certification be on a unit that is in use be considered valid?
From my perspective, it'd be as long as those units are not being changed out to something, a low tonnage versus a higher tonnage AC unit, as long as significant changes have been made to the physical walls of the building. So as long as it's the same space, the same units, or if a unit is replaced, we have the paperwork to show that it was replaced with something of the same or bigger, then I think you should still be able to meet all that and
have it valid for 3 years, like a purpose built.
Well, a purpose built like Will Body programs, when we start for our inspection for that year, say that it's 2026, September is the facility's due date that the inspection is going to occur by TFSC. Obviously our air handlers and all of that, we're working through that along with our audits and everything else that is required for a Will Body program. And that's done within the previous calendar year. So we may have pulled the air exchange within the last 12 months, and it's going to be within the last 12 months because we're not going to do one immediately after an inspection occurs 3 years prior. We're going to make sure that we can get the closest to our year of inspection.
Right.
So it would be fair to say that in most cases, and I can tell you, even with a brand new facility, I've had air handlers and air exchanges go down 2 or 3 times a year just because of equipment malfunction. Again, if there's been an air exchange done, I would say it'd be fair within 12 months, and you have that
Okay.
record, and it's not a architectural or engineered report. It's an actual real-time airflow report.
Yes.
Within that 12-month period
Well,
that's occurring, then it would be accurate, but you still have to prove that it is going. So you're going to have somebody come out to say, yes, this is functioning in the same manner when this actual tab report was done. This system is still currently operating at that standard.
right. So just to make sure and clarify, it's the way we're reading it is prior to that event to happen, someone needs to come out and do the test for the air exchange to make sure that it's meet. So close to that event date, whether it be a week or 2 weeks, someone has to have certified that that air exchange is actually happening. So in that current ballroom, so that we can go ahead and pass that test or that inspection. That's the way we're reading it.
I would concur with what Dr. Ali said earlier, which is if the building hasn't changed, the HVAC equipment
But we
hasn't been.
don't know the specifics, so we're gonna rely on a third party that we cannot inspect unless we're inspecting it during that particular event.
That is
Our
clear.
inspectors are not HVAC technicians, so I mean,
So that is clear guidance. The next question is going to come. Is there a list of facilities that the TFSC, or I mean, entities that the TFSC recognizes that are considered valid to perform this function, or individuals or certifications or some kind of title? Because the hotel could, not saying they would do this, but they could have their cousin Steve come out and say, yeah, this works. I mean, what kind of credentials is the TFSC going to require? Or are there a list of organizations within Texas that are being considered approved by the TFSC to perform this type of recertification or verification?
Those
I think-
individuals, they hold a state license.
Yeah.
That the individuals that
HVAC
provide
technicians.
these, they are licensed master HVAC technicians and specifically specialize in tab reports.
Okay.
Because not every HVAC company, John Smith's AC is going to have the equipment to do a tab report.
So a licensed HVAC technician to do tab reports is going to be required prior to each event to recertify that the air exchange is performing as expected.
Correct.
Okay.
yeah, just to know, this is not a big burden. This is like she just
$200 to $350 for tab.
that's the
inspection.
she just looked it up what the test is, various
Well,
websites.
I understand this isn't a burden, but when you add on the inspection fee and the specimen verification fees, it starts to compound to become somewhat of a burden for the industry. That's why there's so much question about it.
Well, the main thing is maintaining the integrity as to time, space, attendees, et cetera, is what we're looking for. And that's what our purpose is to maintain the integrity of the donor process, the use of anatomical specimentation, and providing proper space for those activities to occur in a manner in which is dignified.
Absolutely. No one argues that at all.
My only
we need to
concern,
move on.
my only concern is that we don't have overreach. I mean, what does the statute say and what does the rules say? I mean, I don't know that it says you have to do it every 12 months or anything.
They make us do it every time we're inspected. So that if you're having another inspection for a hotel, if we moved our space to something else, they're gonna make us do it again.
Right. Well, I think
It might just be clear that the rule that is proposed, and people need to comment on it before our meeting in August, is per event inspection. So that's the only way that we really have to be able to. The problem is you go in and you do an event, and then the next weekend somebody goes in and changes something. Just because you come back, it's not a purpose-built facility. If you want some certainty, it's a purpose-built facility. Is that'll give you that. If you're choosing to use a non-purpose-built facility, there's no other way to ensure that it's
Correct.
different.
Sure. Cost of doing business in Texas. That makes sense. That's
So
and that's
it
We need
sounds
to
like,
move on down the
yeah,
list here, Dr. Ali.
That
yes,
would
sir.
also be the same for a purpose-built facility. Something could change just because
Correct.
it's a non-purpose-built facility in terms of HVAC doesn't change for those two types of entities. So I wouldn't want to put the burden on like Dr. Ali's facility for each event. He has to have
He's he's a purpose-built facility.
I think that's the whole thing. We're getting into the non-purpose built
Yeah.
facility talk here. This is the purpose. I mean, we don't change our walls. We don't do anything, and the ventilation exchanges, ours is 17, is adequate. What I think we're saying on this, though, it's a different categories in a non-purpose built temporary. You got to have that certification every time there's a lab.
Yeah.
I think that's what the group is saying.
but if you had an air handler go down Dr. facility, Dr. Ali, you would still be doing events after fixing that.
Yes. After
with,
fixing,
with or without having it recertified before you know what I mean? Like there could be a gap between you have it fixed in events before having it recertified.
Yeah, I think that's the beauty of the redundancy of 17 ventilation exchanges. I have 16 units on my building. I can have 4 of them go out and I'm still fine. And we have the per unit. We know what we can get to. We know that our minimum is. And I think that's the beauty of redundancy for facilities that are purposely built is I could have a ton of them go down and I'm still fine with getting 7 ventilation exchanges. And I think that's the key here is, and I apologize, I don't have everybody's pictures up and names, but the statement was made is we're trying to make sure to protect the public, the donors and the areas and the people that have no idea this is going on next across the fabric wall or whatever. But it seems like Tom and other groups that as long as there's a licensed HVAC organization that's done your inspection, has told you meet these standards, and at the temporary places that you're getting that done each time, you know, they're not having a lab every weekend at these hotels, at the same hotel every single weekend. It probably happens, I don't know, once a month, maybe more. But either way, whatever the number is, it needs to be certified each time by an HVAC, licensed HVAC group.
Okay, appreciate the guidance. Thank you.
Built-in
We need to
secured
move on down
cold,
the list.
yeah, built-in secure cold storage. I think everybody that's at a purpose-built facility has secured lock access control. Once again, this is your internal group doing their own checklists, physical controls of keys, badges, segregating specimen areas from public areas, fixed signage.
I want to say something on this. Not everybody has cold storage.
right. The rule currently reads, and I apologize, I don't have it up, but just my summarization of is that as long as the facility is able to maintain the cadaveric specimentation, whether it be parts or for extended periods of time, I believe is what it reads.
Yeah, I can
Commissioner
read that to
O'Brien,
you. It's
please.
in 20, or am I muted? It's 206.13 in storage facilities, subsection A2. Storage facilities must be conducive to long-term storage of bodies and conducive to the health of personnel who must work in the area. It should be of sufficient size to handle without undue crowding a total of 1 year's use and receipt of bodies. That's the SAB rule, which we have not touched.
Dr. Ali, is this a self audit or is this Kyle Bass's audit or both?
No, this is a self audit and like I said, I've got things in here for everybody to talk about. Our Anatomical facility has cold storage. I think what maybe some of the will body programs are saying they don't have to because they're formaldehyde, they just keep temperature controlled.
So the DNA.
Correct. So does that make a difference? I put secured temp control versus cold storage or refrigeration. These can all be ors.
I think they would just answer NA, right? If it's not cold storage.
Yeah, or you would just say we keep it temperature controlled by keeping it at 70 degrees in our place because they're formaldehyde. But once again, this is the anatomical facilities, not the world body programs. So groups that do or don't use formaldehyde or preservative. But like
they would have cold storage.
Or they wouldn't have cold storage because they don't have to store. But I know like the world body program, ET Southwestern has deep freezes in there. Other groups don't. You don't as long as you're keeping the specimen in a position where it's not decomposing, right?
Yes.
I think that's what we're trying to get to. So this is your area for your group to say, okay, this is what we do. You'd write it out here. So when the inspector comes and says, what do you do to keep these controlled and not from decomposing? Well, we do this. Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah, because we've had situations where a facility, say they did a lot of temporal bone studies, then all of a sudden they requested to have 12 whole human cadavers. Well, we were familiar with the facility and it was barely large enough to conduct class with the temporal bones. We definitely, and they have no cold storage. We're definitely not going to send them 12 bodies to that facility.
And I think this is what your lab director or your facility manager is thinking to himself is, can I keep these adequately, locked, access controlled, temperature controlled? If, like you just said, if they can't handle 12 and they got them sitting in the random hallway where it's not access controlled. So these are just questions to ask yourself that, when we get to the inspection site, the inspector list, you can see how the inspector would ask this question. I think the rest of these, as you read down from fixed signage to hazardous chemical storage, clean non-porous surfaces, those are good things for your lab director or whoever's running your lab to understand that these are questions that can be asked, and you can say yes, no, not applicable, and describe, but you at least know the question is going to come up and you can have your answer ready. These are not rules saying you must have something on the window, saying, these are things that the inspector should be looking for. These are very important things. Some of them are in the rules, as you can see written in the light gray. A mobile trailer, we consider that a purpose-built. Arthrex has a really beautiful one. I know Stryker has a really nice one. Same kind of thing. Physical criteria has to meet each deployment site, including power and security and waste handling, those kind of things. This area here in 4. This is interesting. I ran into this a couple times, saying that if you're doing this kind of stuff, you're kind of considered a temporary healthcare related facility when it comes to medical waste purposes for that duration. How are you getting rid of the biohazards? How are you getting rid of the sharps? You need to make sure, you're meeting those criteria.
We put that in our definitions section in our rules that are up for adoption at our next meeting.
Okay. OSHA bloodborne pathogens, exposure control plan, where you washing your eyes, sharps handling, those kind of things, all stuff that you should be thinking about and making sure you meet all these.
Does the first one under number 4, Ali, Dr. Ali, does it need to be there for a standalone purpose-built facility? I mean, it's always that, isn't it? A healthcare related facility, isn't it? Always kind of.
No, this is more about the medical waste itself in there, right? So you could take the healthcare related facility out of it and just say, hey, you need to make sure you have a system or SOP on medical waste during the duration of that lab or what's happening at that time at your facility.
So the reason this was necessary is because we had this discussion at our May meeting for the commission. We have this act called the Solid Waste Disposal Act here in Texas, and we have rules that require us to inspect facilities for disposal of human remains. And so we looked at this and we adopted, there's definitions that dishes or the State Department of Health Services they originally were tasked with that act, and they've adopted. And so in order to comply with those rules, we need to have that designated as a healthcare related facility, or otherwise you're not covered under the Solid Waste Disposal Act as an exception that would allow you to deal with human remains.
Dr. Ali, I think it may be more clear if we just stated that medical waste is properly handled and disposed of.
And possibly reference the act in which Chairman Opiella just mentioned.
Okay. Yeah, like I said, this is a checklist. This is not the rules. This is just saying, this is how you need to think. I can take that out as long as people understand, what Chairman Opiella was just saying as to why that statement was in there.
I think it'd be good to add it for the purpose of cross-referencing to maybe a new facility. They would go, well, what are those standards? Why is this in here? And they could cross-reference back and get some more information to help guide them in how they want to set theirs up.
I mean,
and Dr. Ali, that's why I said
checklist, or if it's not included in the checklist, it's still the law.
Right.
I'm just saying, as a checklist, if employees are going to be filling this out, completing this, to me, it's more clear if we just say medical waste is properly handled. And you could even reference the law, like Jason said, for the Solid Waste Disposal Act.
Sure.
I just
Like,
think it's more.
yeah, like Chairman Opio was saying, it doesn't matter if you have it in here or not. By law, it's in there already. So uh, if you don't want those words in there, I don't care. My whole thing is this is just to give your lab director a better, clear understanding of what is it they're kind of putting the bar up to. Is the bar up to the fact that I've just got four walls and a ceiling, or are they looking at me as a healthcare related facility for them to understand that this is a little bit more than just your a typical, room with some walls and a OR light above it?
Yeah, because that this is going to be great for those because you have situations where facilities are being built, and those that are in charge of that are just like you said, they don't have the working knowledge of the end use and responsibilities of it, so they don't know how to portray that to the engineers, the developers, the construction folks to make sure that they're meeting these standards. If you have this in front of you, then they have kind of a guideline of, oh, we have to make sure that we are checking these boxes. And if they are uncomfortable with it, then they can reach out to someone who has more insight.
Yeah, my suggestion would be to leave it in there, but I'm just one person on the committee.
I don't think it hurts to leave it there the way it is.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to hurt because it's in the law already and the rules. So the rest of the stuff we talked about here, radiation is interesting, but very often looked over, and that is when you're using C-arms or even mini C-arms, they do emit radiation. And the state of Texas, under I think it's the Texas Department of Safety and Health, you're supposed to have a radiation safety officer. Every C-arm that's used, whether it's temporary or permanently located at your site, is supposed to be registered with the state. A physicist is supposed to have reviewed those and checked off those radiation machines, X-rays, C-arms, and you're to follow a lot of rules. We just had this group come in to Met the Market a few weeks ago, and they helped us determine some things that we need to make sure, dosimeter badges for the room and for the people. And there's a difference between public that's there versus the actual people within 6 feet of the C-arm. And that's just stuff that you have to do at an anatomical facility by the state of Texas. And there are the chapters right there. Vendor agreements, these are just things I think part of your SOP you should have. Who do we do our cremations with? Who's our transportation people? Is the transportation people registered with the funeral commission? Those kind of things. It's nice to have a section in one of your folders of all the vendor agreements. Who's my NATO that I go to, and have we checked them? Are they good to go? I think that's just good work for any organization.
Dr. Ali, this is Tom again. I'm sorry. I probably am doing all kinds of things wrong in terms of procedure. I did have a question on the radiation comment, if I'm able to ask a question, clarification.
I don't have a problem with that as long as Chair Bolton's okay with it.
You're muted, Charlie. We can't hear you.
As long as we keep it brief, that'd be okay. But all these
super
comments
brief.
on the website.
It's just a question. It's a question I wouldn't have been able to ask before I heard this. With the dosimeter badges, is that a requirement? Just having the badges isn't valid unless you have them read. So if you have a badge for everybody in the room during an event, you then have to take them and read them and report those back to the participants.
Yeah, and unfortunately, you do. Every dosimeter has to have a monitoring organization you upload all the information to, and they're supposed to keep a radiation cumulative log. So let's say, they're coming in from out of town and they're shooting 200 X-rays with the C-arm during the lab. They're to have a dosimeter on that, and that's supposed to be uploaded into one of the dosimetry banks, if you want to call it that. So then when they go back to their surgery center and they're getting radiated every day, it actually adds the two together so they know when they need to stop or there's certain rules that you're supposed to follow. And so one of the things the radiation people taught us is if you have a designated area where that's certain feet away and there's some kind of screen or something, they can stand behind that. They don't need dosimeters. But your X-ray techs that are there doing the X-rays, they need to have their dosimeters on. Those need to be recorded, for them. and anybody else, a surgical tech that's maybe standing right there by the C-arm, those all need to have dosimeters. And the room needs to have dosimeters to see what kind of scatter is happening in the room.
Yeah, and I'll reference 25 Texas Administrative Code, Section 289.231, which is the general provisions and standards for protection against machine-produced radiation. Requires that they control the occupational dose to individuals within these dose limits that are specified in there, and so it's their responsibility as a registrant with these machines to conduct operations so that those people meet those standards. And for the members of the public, each registrant shall conduct operations so that the TEDE to individual members of the public from exposure to radiation does not exceed 0.5 rem, 5 microsieverts in a year, exclusive of the dose contribution from background radiation.
And the members of the public part, we defined that better with the radiation group that came through of there's a certain definition, and you've kind of read it there, but if they're a certain distance away, they're considered a minimal exposure, so they don't have to have dosimeters, but you have to prove that where they're standing and all that kind of stuff. So we have tabs on the ground that say if you're over here, or we have signs that say radiation and use, those kind of things. One of our labs is lead lined, and those kind of things need to be looked at. So like you said, there it is, 25 TAC 289, 231, and you can read all the rules and regulations. So the reason I put that in there is, our place has to have this checked. We have to have, they come in every 5 years and inspect us, and they can do spot checks too, and we have to have a whole folder and radiation safety officer. But when we get to temporary parts, that's something that needs to be thought about, that they could come in during a lab and shut it down.
Yeah, subsection O in there says that the dose in any unrestricted area from registered external sources does not exceed 0.002 rem in any 1 hour.
Correct. That's why they have dosimeters on the walls, to show that the scatter to this area is 0. So the hallway is clear and you don't have to worry about it. And that's why they make you put dosimeters physically in the rooms and physically on the bodies of the people that are within 6 feet of it.
And then this also, I know we're talking about purpose built, but this conversation would all extend into like hotel and convention center where radiation emitting machines are going to be used.
100%.
100%.
Rest of this, number 5, is just paperwork. Have the chain of custody paperwork, have the things that you're supposed to be able to keep documents for proposed 7 years. If the commission or anybody asks for it, you should be able to get it in within 2 business days. Those are part of the rules we've made. Authorized use, these are all part of our rules. Are you doing it for the right purpose? Are the activities with authorized activities? Is it being performed by authorized persons? These are all part of the definitions we've made already, and I think as a group have approved. Not a public display, media kept private, each body and specimen treated with respect. Most of this is we've done this 100 times now and gone over this, and then we've talked about transportation of a registered transport organization. What things need to be on the specimens? What do you do with disposition of the remains?
Dr. Adley, I think we made the contents derived from donated human tissue not in quotes on previous versions.
Like the actual quote's not there?
Just because it just needs to be a statement similar to that, I believe.
Let's look at the statute real quick, because it was in quotes in the statute, but I remember us having that conversation in the past. 1 second. 691. I don't think it has to be in quotes. Yeah, it does not have to be in quotes. It's 691.031. It just says a label with the statement that the container's contents are derived from human tissue is affixed to the container in which the specimen is transported.
And that should be in all of our rules, right, Chair Opiella?
It is. I think the confusion was the old SAB rules had that in all caps and quotes, if I remember correctly, and that's why. And we changed that in the one that's up for adoption at the August meeting.
Does that look better?
Thank you.
Okay. Yes, sir. No, thank you for bringing that up. that's it for this. And I know this took a tiny bit of time, but once you've done this once, I think the other ones will go through a little faster on checklists because they're pretty similar. I'm going to save that and then I'll give that to Maria so then we can all look at if you need to at a different time. All right, Chair Fulton, I'm going to try to go through this. Once again, if you do the report and inspection here, it kind of goes with all the other organizations and will make a lot more sense and it won't be so tedious to go over. But I think once we go over this and everybody sees it. So now this is, if I can pick on Kyle Bass, this is Kyle Bass showing up at your center. You've already done your checklist, you've prepared, you're ready to go. The inspector would use a form such as this, whether this is the exact form or the funeral commission modifies it a touch. So they would come in, identify the facility, the address, the registration number, the inspection date. There's a time in and time out. As I came at 7 a.m, I left at 7:22 a.m. Maybe too fast. So it'd be good to see that they were there for a few hours. They know who the DRI is, what their title is. They put their name, their badge number. This is a dedicated bioskills facility, or this is a medical school lab, or research facility, or mobile trailer. So they have ability to click what they're doing. This is my initial renewal, those kind of things. Are they using a lab or body or specimen during the inspection? It's just a yes or no. Like if they're there and there's a lab going on, then you can say yes. They tell the facility or the person, this is why I'm here, this is what I'm doing. This is my explanation to the representative. And then this is when they start going through some of their stuff. Right here is probably just important just to read once. Compliant, deficient, not applicable. If there's issues, if it's severe, critical, major, minor, those kind of things. Observed, they saw, or they looked at records, they interview, they measure, they photograph, just for them to have some kind of nomenclature to go by. And almost the same as the checklist for the lab director at the facility, it kind of mirrors that. Are they registered? Do they have a number? Are they not inspired? Have they passed their inspection before? Do they understand the cycle of how often they're getting inspected? Do they know who the DRI is? Have they paid their fees? This is kind of stuff they can do before they even arrive. When they get there, they can say, hey, show me where you're getting your tissue from. I want to follow one or two of your donors. Show me the chain of custody, the consent paperwork, the serology, what it was used for. I think that would be a nice thing for them to run through, to be able to follow one or two of the donors, kind of randomly pick. Once again, this follows very much the same as the checklist as you go through. And same kind of checklist with the fixed plant facility. We kind of talked about all this. I know this part we added the temperature controlled. There's that.
Do you want to put an asterisk there for you for the change?
Thanks. Very much the same as what we just talked about. And then what was that? It was the Medical Waste Act, is that right?
Yes.
Oops.
Solid waste disposal.
I'll double check it, make sure I get the right wording on there. Same thing again, very similar to the checklist, because that's what it should be. The person
Solid Waste Disposal Act. Texas
Solid.
Solid Waste Disposal Act. Sorry.
Nope. Let me see this one here. Medical biological waste. This is something that came up on TCEQ as to like if you've got medical waste, how it's supposed to be handled.
Yeah, that's the same act that requires this. So what has happened? It originally, this is something I found out in April when we were trying to figure out how this is done, is that it was originally Texas Department of Health. That's what it still says in our statute. But then that got moved over to dishes sometime about 20 years ago. And about, I don't know, 10 years ago, it got moved over to TCQ, but dishes still sets the rules, but TCQ administers it. Makes it real fun for us to figure this one out. It's like, where's Waldo with statutes?
Radiation, same thing. The inspector should say, let me see your RSO folder. Who is your RSO, radiation safety officer? Have you met compliance with the Texas Department of State Health, if I got the right group, for radiation part? And have they inspected you, improved you, and all that kind of good stuff? So this would be I observed or recorded. I saw it, your vendor agreements. I think the inspector should look through your vendor agreements on people like transportation, cremation, your NATOs or world body programs that you have vendor agreements with. This is paperwork that they should be able to find right then and there and ask to look for things. And
Dr.
then-
Ali,
Yes, sir.
just for one moment, back up vendor agreements, written plans.
Yes, sir.
And you may have it further down in the contents. We might consider adding into both the brick and mortar. Well, you already have that in the brick and mortar, but on the inspection sheet, whenever inspection occurs, we have to verify, or while this is a vendor agreement, we might need a subsection as far as for cremation, so that if it's a facility that does not have, or a will body program or NATO that does not have a retort on site, which more than likely some will body programs do and don't, we need their TCEQ licensing or permit. But if they're using a licensed crematory within the state, we need to make sure that they have a current copy of the current license for establishment for those. So we might put those in vendor agreements, put in, brackets, crematory agreements or crematory
Outside
license.
embalming services.
Outside embalming preparation. Just to highlight those specifics, because that is.
So I just do on here the TFSC license copies of vendors. So if you're doing a crematorium, you need to have their license on hand that you've checked and it's still valid and good to go.
I would think that'd be correct.
Dr. Ali, I have a follow-up question to that.
Yeah.
I love how you put the rule references on each of these. Shouldn't really, for the official inspection form, shouldn't you be able to reference a rule for every single item? In other words, we're not adding things to rule or statute through the creation of this form.
Sure. So vendor agreements, written plans on file. I'm trying to think if there's a rule in there about part of your SOP being able to verify the disposition place you're taking it to, or the transportation group. That's more of because from my perspective, you are by law supposed to use a registered transportation organization now, correct? So
Yeah.
I don't know what that rule number is currently. We can add that rule number in there. And that's a great edit, is to say, once we have these done and the proposed rules passed, I can go back to 206.11 and add that in there for the inspector to know that that's what this is talking about. So I think that's great that you pointed that out, because there's one or two that just says facility documentation, right? But we can add a proposed rule number to it.
Yeah, I'm not, and my question is not even specific just to the vendor agreements. It's just in general. We shouldn't be adding.
Right. Which we haven't. We just, in some cases, he hadn't cross-referenced back
Yeah.
because he put a broad title.
Right. And I'll do that. I'll reference if I can find out where this one particular one is. And I hear what you're saying about all of them, but I think I've referred to every single one of them pretty specifically.
So 206.4, I believe, is the rule on transportation that's up at our August meeting. And then y'all are on this agenda later, if we get to it, right, going to propose a new rule, right, on registration of those.
We're hoping.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sorry, guys. I'm going to try to go through this here. This stuff here on number 5 is, we all know that's what the inspector is going to look at. Let's see, authorized use. These are all part of our definitions that we've passed, so they would look at these kind of things. Transportation, there it is there on the proposed, and actually I have proposed 206.3. And then we're going to
Chain of custody is 206.3. We'll fix it later.
Sure.
Yeah.
Changes. How do we do this wording on this one instead of contents derived?
Derived from
Contents derived from human tissue.
There you go. think it's donated human tissue.
In the statute, it just says contents are derived from human tissue.
Okay. Okay. The rest of the stuff mirrors exactly the rest. Now here, evidence log, if there's anything they need to do or add, I just left these kind of open for them to say, okay, this is what I saw and this is how I'm describing it. Deficiencies, here's the things you guys did not meet and the severity of it. And they have that nomenclature at the top. Closing reviews, you almost have like an exit interview, like here, we're going to sit down, we're going to go over all this. This is what happened. Here are the things I've seen. And then here's what by law I have to do as an inspector, getting 7 days to do this, efficiencies, all that kind of stuff per TAC 206.33. And then the pass with plan or deficiency cited. And then there's just room here if they want to write things in here. And then they sign off, and the facility DRI signs off that I got this, I understand it, I know my deficiencies, or I passed. And then they can make a copy of this right then and there, to since it may take 6 or 7 days for this to show up on file. But if it's passed, it would be a nice thing for the DRI to keep there at the facility.
Yep.
That's it, gentlemen. So in essence, checklist and inspection report are going to almost follow this on all the other ones. I'm happy to quickly go through those a little bit faster. Let me just do the NATO's because theirs is a tiny bit different, but it's a checklist that if the funeral commission does come and inspect you, they're going to expect about the same kind of things. The checklist may look a little different. And this is the reason why the commission would come in and inspect you in red here. Same kind of concept of who it is, legal name, all that kind of stuff. If there's an AATB accreditation number, now this is your checklist for the NATO, right? So you're looking at all this stuff. Very similar. And I'll let everybody kind of glance through these. I don't think there's anything that's going to throw anybody off, but please stop me as I'm gently rolling through this. I think we all know that. Like I said, the only reason they would be there is something has happened and they need to come check. I think that's right here. That's why the commission would show up to investigate or inspect. And as a NATO, I think this is pretty obvious. And if you're AATB certified, this is probably ad nauseum for you guys, all the things that you have to do. But you also need to meet the Texas laws too of the chain of custody, donor allowance form. This here, I don't know if the NATOs do this, of unclaimed bodies. And if that's an issue there, but it is in chapter 691.
We do not.
We do not.
Okay. I didn't think any of the NATOs do. Distribution of understanding how you're supposed to do it and registering it with the funeral commission. And I think this is all stuff that we've done already in our proposed rules. Once again, pretty straightforward. Transportation, we've talked about what's okay to transport with and what's not, and that's in there very clearly. I really can type better than this. It's just in front of everybody. There you go. I think we've clearly stated this. And this is, I'm going to guess all of this AATB wise, everybody meets. And there are not applicable boxes on here. If it has nothing to do with your organization, you would click the not applicable. So pretty straightforward. Anything from you guys from NATO's about this that might not set right or not look right?
The DRI may not be on site during an audit, right?
I don't know. I mean, I would figure if the funeral commission is showing up, you probably should have your DRI there, right?
Right. If it's known that they're going to be there, will it always be known that they're going to be there?
No.
Well, if they get a complaint, I think the funeral commission, and correct me if I'm wrong, Chairman Opiola, can or doesn't have to
We don't
announce
have to
their
announce
visit.
ourselves.
Right.
Um,
So, yes, I mean, if they come unannounced and your DRI is not there, I would hope that there's someone there at the facility that can represent the DRI.
Right.
and
It's just
set it.
I'm sorry, it just won't be a DRI signature is my only point.
Right. So I guess we can add, DRI representative, underneath here, add a second line, or it can always be written underneath here. I'm representing the DRI, that person's not here, that kind of thing. That's why there's space on these to write extra lines if you need to. But I hear what you're saying.
You could say designated responsible individual or person acting as such. But they're in the top.
or designee. Yeah.
I mean, I think that should take care of it, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else on here, gentlemen? So that was a checklist, and then there is no inspection per se. The funeral commission will show up with their same inspection checklist that they would have for a purpose-built facility or a will body program. It's the same thing. So this is the will body programs. This is their checklist, pretty similar. There may be a couple things that are not applicable, and it looks a lot like the NATO one, except you all have formaldehyde, so there's a couple different things. So same thing, DRI. This is your checklist that you would go through to make sure you're up to speed on everything. If you have a licensed embalmer, if new information needs to be added in here, like I have a tort also, you can always write that in there. We can always make that line if necessary. Same kind of stuff. Am I registered? Do I understand my cycle? Have I passed inspection before? Is there an ownership change? Do I have a DRI identified? Get my fees paid? These are all things that we all know on donor intake and consent that everybody has to do. NATO will body program. Even the anatomical facilities need to know you have all this. This is the part that would be more customized for you, a will body program. And please holler at me if something's off. Is there anything wrong with that statement, Jason or Charlie, or any of you guys that a will body program?
So far, it looks good.
Okay.
The only thing I see is down on where is on your formaldehyde section. I don't
Yes, sir.
quite.
Scroll down.
Okay. I was just making sure we had the 8-hour TWA on it.
Yes, sir. And it does show which statute to look at and understand. There's your 8-hour TWA.
Yeah.
I'm going to guess with university settings, you guys meet every single one of these, but this is a good thing for whoever's your director there to be like, hey, let me check my eye washes. Are they still functioning? We checked our eye washes a couple months ago and one of them was shooting, the other one wasn't. So obviously got to clean it or replace it. So these are all just good checklists to go through each year just for the heck of it, right? So this can be used as a good internal audit that you can add to yourself. And once again, things like this are part of the CFR. What do you do in an emergency spill? record keeping. Once again, these are all per law. Here, that's more internal for you guys. It could be non-applicable, or yes, we do all that. This is that Solid Waste Disposal Act that we were talking about.
We did the same thing. So
These are all waste rules. Same thing on the vendor agreements. That's more of, who do we do this? Who do we do that with? Do we have our other
Hey,
with FSC
Dr.
license?
Ali, the one right above that, spin and bottom fluid, that goes down the sanitary sewer.
absolutely.
That's legal in Texas. All funeral homes, everybody does it.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's
so
been certified by OSHA and DEA.
so you're saying this not the sanitary sewer?
You take that part out because it goes to the sewer system.
Yeah,
I mean, you guys have to tell me on this one because this is not my program. I don't do old body programs, so I have no idea what's.
Everything in the prep room goes through the sewer system. It was inspected through Service Corporation International's main embalming facility. They went out and put a tank outside their facility and ran all the fluid through it and put goldfish in it because they're the most susceptible, and to make sure they didn't die, and all of them thrived because there's enough chlorine water going into that formaldehyde that's going through the body and the blood that it kills everything that's in there.
The only time it would be any different is you might have a facility that has a safety services protocol for Freshwater Act within the institution, but then they're going to provide that at that time. It's not a mandated, it's just systems based.
Is there a document that proves this or shows this, or y'all keep on file with the state, or how do y'all do that? Just out of
The
curiosity.
Funeral Service Commission regulates this part of it, and they do not require this.
Okay.
Yeah,
Sorry, I'm muted as well. So this also falls under the Solid Waste Disposal Act. There is an exception in there that allows us to dispose of blood and other, fluids that would come through through the sanitary sewer.
Okay. So is this 30 chapter 326 and TCEQ waste rules not correct?
No, it's correct, but there's multiple rules in there. So as I said earlier, we have our rules, we have the dishes rules, and then TCQ has their own rules, and so it's kind of a little bit of a morass.
Okay. I mean, like I said, full body programs, if that's what it is and that's what we do, then and it's
under
appropriate.
the TCQ waste rules, you are a small emitter, I think is what. Sorry. You're a small size emitter, and so there's no regulation of it. Let's just say that.
Okay.
I heard it said one time at a meeting that we were at that funeral homes were the smallest user of formaldehyde that there is. The largest user is people who do dry cleaning.
Textiles, dry cleaning, etc.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. Then we took that out, so that's good. Physical facility criteria, once again, I think all of this, except for right here. Correct. I think that's the only thing we needed to change. Otherwise, everything else should be exactly like an anatomical facility or a NATO.
It may not be down to it, Dr. Ali. And if we haven't, you might want to add the box in there for radiation usage as well for those that do have it.
Let me see. I don't know if I have radiation in here. Let me just double check. No, I don't. So, let's see, physical plant criteria. So let's see if it'll, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put radiation.
Make yourself a note, you can fix it.
Correct. Nope. Records and chain of custody, just like anybody else with donors. Authorize use, just like everybody else. And then uh, and then we can always go. Everything else is pretty much the same. And then you sign off that you've done your pre-checklist. And then the checklist should be almost exactly like everybody else's checklist. This is what the inspector would be using to mimic, in essence, your checklist that you just went through. So same kind of concept. Who am I inspecting? My registration number, their registration number, and all that kind of good information up top right there. Same nomenclature here in this section. And we're going down to exact same stuff that we did for the NATO one we just looked at a second ago. None of this stuff should be different unless we made a change in the last one. All of this should be correct. This part is customized to you guys.
Question, Dr. Ali. So this is the actual checklist Kyle will use to inspect my will body program.
Mhm.
Is there any separation? Because, I have like 10 different labs and 10 different buildings all underneath my jurisdiction. Is there anything that deciphers in between, my main lab, of course, my gross lab and my will body program where I store the bodies, my freezer and everything. But then I got an ortho lab, an ENT lab, a brain lab that's not going to have most of that stuff on there.
Correct. So those would be considered anatomical facilities, not a willed body program. And so they would need to be
Uh,
inspected.
So so I'll fill one out for the will body program of my core facility, but the one across the hallway is going to be that does not store bodies that we do labs in is going to be an anatomical facility.
I mean, that would be my logic and understanding that if you had one across the hall, if you had one in the next building for ortho and you had one over there for neuro, that each one of them is going to be different air handling, different security, that you would have to go through the same anatomical inspection thing, but it would be good for 3 years because you won't be.
Oh, yeah, no. We've done that in the past. I
Yeah,
mean, they've all
yeah,
been inspected on 3-year
yes, sir.
rotation. It's
Yes,
just
so
that we've had each room has been deciphered out on my inspection. The old SAB inspection reports with a different
Right.
for it. This one here doesn't show any decipher between each room, so we just use one form per lab.
You got it. This one would be just for your donor area where the donor bodies come in and your will body program runs all the formaldehyde and embalming and all that. The actual dissection area is your anatomical facility where you actually do the lab. That's going to be your anatomical facility lab inspection.
So my gross lab that's connected to my will body program is going to go to the gross lab will have its own anatomical facility. I just want to make sure I get this straight how
Yeah,
we're going to think through this.
I would say logically, yes. In essence, once you go through those doors to the other gross lab, that's a different facility built for the purpose of doing the dissections and the lab and the training versus the will body program through the other side of the doors. That's where I'm doing all my, procurement and
Right.
embalming and all that. So that's going to be looked at differently, right? Because there's different things and the fumes and all that kind of stuff and all the licenses involved and how you're getting rid of all that formaldehyde and all that kind of stuff. So I would say yes, that each one of your actual bioskills lab training areas is an anatomical facility if they're truly separated by buildings, right? But if your neuro lab is just separated by one door to your ortho lab, the inspector just walks through and looks at all six of those rooms, right? But if they're
Yeah, well,
physically
on that
separate,
note, my ENT lab's on the 6th floor, my ortho
right,
lab's on the 6th floor.
right,
I got, so, but
right.
the same building, but it's under my umbrella. On that note too, am I going to have to pay inspection fee for every one of these applications? $500 for every anatomical application I put in that's under my purview?
I think he should be able
So
to do one inspection.
it's one inspection, and this is all under one roof. So that'll be up to Kyle how he itemizes it out.
Yeah. So
He can put it on
what,
the sheet because
right,
this is Kyle's deal right here, not ours. We're just
right. So
saying we're to give a recommendation to what to do.
yeah, I think
But
my recommendation would be Kyle comes in and he has this form, right? He does the will body program, then he swings out the anatomical facility form and does the other 4 or 5 in the building, right? And he does one for each, and that's it. You get charged once. He's there for an inspection and gets it done. So I hear what you're saying. You don't want to have seven $500 bills in one day. It's all
Correct.
in the same building, but as long as everything meets the requirements in each room, you should be good for one inspection day. They come in and inspect all your rooms.
Yeah, that's how we've done it in the past. I
Yep.
mean, everything that's
Yep.
under my UT Houston purview is how we've done it. I just want to make sure that we don't, nothing comes up here in the future and say, no, it's gonna be $500 and everything, because you know how that's gonna fall like a lead balloon with everybody.
So it's
Yeah.
all one inspection.
Okay, thank you. I just needed clarification on that.
That's the way I would look at it. Obviously, does anybody else in the committee have an issue or recommendation?
I think one inspection for his whole facility.
Right. Well, sounds
Yep.
like a majority
You're
of us.
inspecting the program, not each room within the program, right?
Okay, well, the
And it's
Yeah,
once
reality
every
it
3
is
years.
And you could almost pull that with like a hotel ballroom. If they're going to use ballroom A, B, and C, Kyle's not going to charge them 500, 500, 500. He's going to see all three rooms, right?
Per
And
event
go, right,
on that
exactly.
part.
Right,
Yeah.
right, correct. Per event. Okay,
Okay.
perfect. Good. I'm glad we clarified that. Once again, this is same things that we had on the one for the checklist. This is Kyle's checklist. Like, did they do all these things? And y'all didn't have any changes. You didn't have any changes on any of the requirements for these kind of things on here.
So, sorry, I don't mean to hash it back. I didn't realize I was on mute. Back to Kurt's question. This is more directed at Chairman Obiella. If you have UT McGovern, who has 10 labs that are approved for use of anatomical material in, he puts in his inspection for his well body program, just like we always have. Within that inspection that Kyle arrives, he does the well body space, the gross lab space, neuro, ortho, etc., and so on. If you have a facility in a similar context for a systems that is at one location, but say there are a couple of miles separate from another location that is still operated by the same group, is that going to be considered still a single inspection? Or since there is two separate sites, is that going to be a secondary inspection, even though it can be done within one day?
So the way that we've done it in the past has been we have one inspection fee for your will body program. We have one inspection fee, or it's not inspection, right? It's a registration fee for the NATOs, right? Verification fee, right? And then for each anatomical purpose-built facility, we have an inspection fee. That's the way we've done it, in the past. Now, that said, are those anatomical facilities part of your will body program? If they are, then that's part of your will body program. But if it's, say you one's at Baylor, one's at UT Health, right? They're across the street, but they're two different entities, right? That would not be part of your will body program.
Well, what I'm saying is if it's in the same, say it's just only an anatomical facility. For instance, say UT Tyler, for instance, they have their School of Medicine, Smile Center has educational facilities in their Midtown, and then they have theirs at their North Campus, but they are managed by the same department within the UT Health system. Is that going to be two separate anatomical facility inspections, or is it going to be the same since it's oversighted by the same group?
Or each one registered separately with us?
They're not currently, but they will be in the future.
If they're registered separately, then I would say that that's a separate inspection. If they're not registered separately, then it would be one inspection fee. Maria's she had to step out, so I don't know necessarily what we've been doing necessarily in the past, but that's
right, because the reason I asked the question is for the same purpose that Kurt has. So, for instance, like out at Texas Tech, the Institute of Anatomical Sciences has their Lubbock facility and a facility in Midland. Both of them are under the purview of the Institute of Anatomical Sciences will body program, but home office, if you will, is in Lubbock. But those are under the same approval while we complete two different site inspections, they have always been inspected as one. And if you fail at one, then, but again, the main thing is would we be needing to submit two separate inspection requests that they're in tags, a $500 request for inspection for each physical location, or is it going to be covered under the one?
Well, so let me bring up something. So if Met2Market opened up another facility in South Austin and had one in North Austin, can I just get my South one inspected and say then we're good, and then have Kyle drive on the other side of town and inspect the other one, and they're just one-time fee, or do they need to be two separate? It's pretty much what you're asking. The same thing here.
Yeah, that's the question.
Right.
Yeah, that's the question.
So it's one, Maria just stepped back in. When we have multiple anatomical facilities that are owned by the same entity and are registered under the same registration, do we charge a separate inspection fee for each one, or is it one inspection fee? He mentioned that Texas Tech has one in Lubbock and one in Midland. It would seem that we have a separate.
It's a separate, so they will have to pay for each location, for that inspection fee. Does that make sense?
This
So,
makes sense because Kyle's having
Right.
William or any of these guys are having I mean, Midland is a little bit of a drive from Lubbock.
Yeah.
but are we going to put a mileage thing on it? Because like if Kurt had a facility across the street,
Yeah, I got seven,
If it's
schools
not
in
within
my
the same
UT Houston
facility,
program.
right, so if it's not within the same facility, it would be considered a separate registrations as it is.
so if you went 2 blocks down the street,
Right, yes, it would be considered, because they're not gonna have the
That's
same
crazy.
registration.
that's crazy.
It will be two different registrations and the same token as well.
Can we have a master registration with satellite facilities? You just have one registration and then maybe Kurt pays a small inspection fee or whatever.
Well, not the way we're doing, not the way it was, the current rules. It would be whatever facility that you're registering, that would be its own entity, unless you're having the one-time event or you have a mobile lab. Then it would, even the mobile labs will have their own registration fees, registrations number. So it would not be so much as a satellite location. It will have to be a registration where it will be inspected. I mean,
Wouldn't that, because right now, my satellite labs, I do not transfer. I do not go through the Funeral Service Commission, transfer permission to go to those labs or specimens because it's under my umbrella. So, I mean, I'm sure if we went to a transfer, that's going to be an anatomical facility that's got to be inspected with their own fee. But my different labs,
within the staff, but I mean, we can get with staff. Well, Mandy, myself, that's the staff, and we can review this. I mean, obviously, the way we're looking at it and the way you're looking at it may need some clarifications to make sure and see what would be the best. So, Clark, we might be reaching out to you. It sounds like Houston, you might also have the same question. So we might be reaching out to you guys just for clarification and see how we can move forward. But as of right now, it is my understanding that it's if you were to register that facility, it would not be under one umbrella. Each facility would have its own registration number.
Which makes sense, right? I mean, otherwise you could abuse it by saying, well, I'm under UT, but my facility's over in El Paso and my other one is in Houston. My other one is in Tyler, and that just isn't sustainable for us.
So I'm gonna play devil's advocate here, though. On the funeral home side of it, you have a funeral home that's on this piece of property, but they're embalming facilities across the street, and it's still one thing.
They have two license numbers.
No, they do not. They do not, because it's not an embalming establishment. It's part of the funeral home.
Well, don't we license embalming facilities? I mean, if you tell me it
If
has.
but if it's an embalming establishment, but this isn't what I'm saying is not. is part of the funeral home.
Well, it has to be adjacent to
No,
the
it does not.
funeral.
No, it does not.
And again, Charles, we can look at it and see how we can address this.
Yeah.
But the way will be doing the registration would be each facility will have its own registration number.
Okay.
Yeah.
I disagree, but okay.
So,
I like the
Because-
idea of Charlie said, have a 5, 10
There needs to
mile,
be
20
Need
mile.
to be a mileage situation, because if Kurt is in a medical facility there where he's got his situation, there's a skyway that goes over to another building that he's got certified for a deal in there. You're saying he's got to have a separate certification for that.
Well, it sounds like she's saying I got a
It could be a
certification
door.
for my ENT lab, my ortho lab, all in the
Yeah.
same buildings.
Yeah,
If there's gonna be a different registration number,
that's not
yeah,
right.
so because it could just be simply a doorway from the will body intake and processing aspect into your gross anatomy lab.
Yeah, just like my facility is right here.
Why don't we let the staff talk with y'all and we'll figure it out.
Yeah,
Okay.
because that doesn't work.
But y'all also understand the other flip side of it too. We can't have a facility in El Paso, Midland, and Lubbock all under the same umbrella.
why-
'Cause it just-
That's why we said put a distance in there.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Well, they'll call you.
Okay.
All right. Always good to have lively discussions. Same thing at the bottom here, evidence log, deficiency summary, closing review, disposition, sign-offs by each group. That's it. And then obviously I put and highlight the fun stuff we just discussed about, is it going to be one site? Is it going to be multiple sites for the inspection registration? So that's there to be discussed. That's it for the Will Body program. I'll move forward quickly to, we done NATO, and then the non-purpose facility. It's the only difference here is for the events compliance form. I think this is really important to help the funeral commission and the group know that Texas wants your business. We want you to come here. We're not trying to scare you away, because last year with all the silliness, there was groups that said we're just not coming to Texas because we have no idea what we just weren't very transparent and clear and told what they're looking for. So this allows, let's say, if I may use I'm an OEM, an original equipment manufacturer, a Stryker, Medtronic, whatever it is, right? And I want to do a lab at, if I may, use the Fairmont Hotel downtown Austin. Great people, great hotel. So they write who they are. I'm, Stryker Trauma Services. I want to do it at this venue. Here's a contact name, here's a DRI. So this is Stryker filling out a lot of this information for submission to the funeral commission. The venue DRI, the venue name, the address. I'm looking to bring in 16 cadavers. These are my event dates and hours. Some of these things you may not need to fill out. Some of the things you may need to fill out because they may not have a registration number here for this client for Stryker, right? So you can leave not applicable. Here's where I'm getting my tissue, right? I'm going to use this supplier. Here's their registration. I've verified. I know who they are. I looked at the website. I called the commission. Once again, this is a checklist, but this will be turned into the funeral commission. So when Maria's team gets it, they know that these are the forms that are going to be required of them. Yes, I'll have my chain of custody. Yes, I'll have my serology, my consent, my acknowledgement form, because this is at a public area like a ballroom or convention center that all the serology is negative. And then here's what I'm going to attach with this form: the venue floor plan, the HVAC documentation, the security plan, line of sight, cleaning, decontamination, tear down, worker safety, OSHA, TCEQ, transport, disposition. You can't have the rep walk out with 2 boxes under their arms to go dispose of. You got to show who's approved and registered to take these, or private courier, Will Body Program, NATO. These are rules that the client is acknowledging. So this is the OEM, the Stryker or the Medtronic or the group, right? I'll be on site the entire duration. We're doing this for an authorized activity with the scope of donor consent saying that's okay for me to do. It's on the authorized list. The 4 educational pillars that we talk about: donor consent, approved setting, supervision, bona fide educational purpose, all those things are being made. We're not doing a paid public admission or entertainment or spectacle. It's not a public display. If there are minors under the age of, what's it, minor now, 18, that it's an enrolled accredited educational program, media will be kept private, specimens, and that they're treated with respect at all times. So this is the device company kind of putting this together, whoever wants to hold the event, right? And they put all this in there, and then they send it into Maria's group, and Maria can look ahead of time and say, okay, you understand all the rules, you understand everything, you're going to get inspected the day or two before your event or the day of your event. We've cleared you with these things or conditions, and you're so far you're pre-approved, right? We haven't said you're a go, you're just pre-approved, but at least it lets the client know these are the things that the state of Texas expects us to have done. Does that cause heartburn for anybody? Is that okay the way we looked at it? And then Maria's team, please let me know if this works and makes you feel better about you're getting a lot of information. It's very clear and transparent what they need to send to you.
Yes. Oh, that works for us.
Okay. And NATO's will body programs. I know you guys will be supplying the bodies. Anything on here that makes you go, oh gosh, no way?
Who's this form for, Dr. Ali?
This is so if I was like a striker medical education coordinator and I want to hold an event at a hotel and invite 100 doctors, I'm the medical education coordinator. I'm the one who's going to be paying for this to the hotel, flying in the doctors. I'm putting all this together. So it's my event, right? It's just that I'm hosting it at a non-purpose built facility, a convention center, a ballroom, and I'm using tissue from NATO or World Body Program. So I want to make sure I know everything I'm supposed to do, and I'm going to turn it into Maria to get a pre-approval 6 months in advance. Medtronic would like to bring their giant event to Austin, Texas, and it takes 6 months to set all these up for hotel rooms, flights, and all that kind of stuff. So it's them doing this.
So this is not a form for them to request the specimens, though. Like
No,
we said,
no, no,
those
no,
aren't
no.
allowed.
This
Okay,
is
it's just their checklist, so they
Yeah.
make sure that when they
There
do
you
come.
go.
Okay,
There you go.
understand.
Because we don't want them to get here and say, I didn't know you wanted me to have my serology. And the funeral commission says, sorry, we're shutting you down. Right?
Yes, sir.
So
Yes,
this
sir.
is for them to say, okay, I know very clearly what you expect of me. So that's their bit. And then
What about the new floor marketing? I'm sorry, can you go back?
the floor plan.
The floor plan?
Yeah.
Is that
So if you're using ballroom A, like, okay, so how's your security set up? Are you using the entire ballroom? Are you having the tables where the cadavers are grouped in the back wall for line of sight? If you're using radiation, are you putting the cadavers right next to the wall where people are getting radiated on the outside? Just the basic floor plan of how your setup is supposed to be, right? I have a partition wall as you walk in through the double door so people can't see. So it would be very much just give us the floor plan of how you're setting this up. Where are you storing? What are the access points? Do you have signs saying don't wear your PPE out with bloody shoe covers on to the public bathroom? Because I've seen doctors walk out with their gown on, hat, mask, gloves, and walk into the public bathroom and use the bathroom and they're traipsing around whatever's on their feet. These are things that just specify what you're doing and make sure all the stuff is done right.
So I want to answer a question that's in the chat to Tom. So Tom, the forms will be provided on the TFSC website. And then as far as guidance and everything on how to use the forms, we will have a shareholders meeting before this is all said and done. And your people are welcome to be on there to ask questions.
Dr. Ali,
Yes, sir.
should there be something on here about animals at the same time as the humans? Because they do two different labs, with eye corneas to, pig stuff. Here at the school, the UT's required, they have to be separated, can't be in the same room, and you can't use the same PPEs to go to one to the other. It has to be disposed of. Should there be something like that just to forewarn these people that want to do that?
Great question. I know there's plenty of device groups that use pigs, other things, these are cadaver pigs or cadaver models to show things. One of the
A lot of the anatomical facilities do that daily, use pig intestines and everything on the colectomies and all this different stuff. And they also have cadaver going on at the same time, and they're required now, not to be in the same room or separated, and they can't use the same PPEs and everything like
Well,
that.
let me ask you something. Is there a law that says you can't because the
There isn't.
specimen? Right, because the specimen is passed. You're not passing any infection from the animal to the specimen. If that's a university rule, 100% follow it. But there is nothing wrong with having a pig spine, and you practice on that, and then you walk 10 feet over and you do it on a human spine. There's
The SAB,
We don't
Uh,
regulate animal specimens.
The old SAB rule, the old SAB rule said we could not have animal material in the same room with human material, and you could not store it in the same facility.
okay. Where is that rule?
Hold on.
I don't
Because
remember
to me
what it is.
that doesn't make any healthcare sense at all.
I'd say, what's the justification behind that? Because it doesn't.
Dr. Ali, the statement that you made a moment ago about the bovine and cow, et cetera, specimens, most of that is not fresh. It's going to be fixed and in formaldehyde through the vendors that provide that, because they normally come in like 5-gallon buckets that contain preservatives. I'm wondering if in our inspection, et cetera, for our anatomical facilities, because I know you made the comment that, with the formaldehyde monitoring, et cetera, it's more the will body stuff, and the medical schools, if in those cases, if we're piggybacking no pun intended, but and bringing in bovine and using it in those same spaces during the same event,
There's something.
I'm kind of wondering if we shouldn't be monitoring formaldehyde content as well, like everyone else.
Still not able to get shit.
So I know the specimens that are used, at least at ballrooms and those things, are not formaldehyde or preserved. They're actually fresh, because of, once again, the plastination for the surgeons doesn't work. They want fresh spine or leg or arm or those kind of things of a pig, or usually it's porcine. But once again, I don't think there's any health related issue with having a fresh spine of a porcine specimen next
I wasn't
to.
saying fresh. I'm saying
No, I know.
ball.
I just want to make sure that we clearly define what we're talking
Because
about.
both facilities could be, even though they use primary fresh, if they're bringing in corneas and testicles, et cetera, for anything else, that's going to be a fixed item in most cases if they're going to be bringing in some sort of animal specimen.
Like I said,
So I'm just wondering if we should make it across the board with our formaldehyde monitoring regardless.
Yeah, well, and now
Well,
even
Because somebody could also request, have a group that requests and say it's a PA program, or somebody that doesn't have a facility and they're wanting to add a sidebar dissection, but they find an anatomical facility that they want to do a long-term dissection for a prosection within that anatomical facility.
Mhm.
And it could be a fixed cadaver that's being held
Sure.
in that facility for the purpose of use.
Yeah, and that's where the air exchanges take care of that, right?
yeah, but I think
But
another
we also-
thing it came up to because you can't cremate animals and humans together. You gotta have separate retorts. And with them in the thing, they would in the past dispose of the animal stuff with the human stuff and try piggyback it into cremation and stuff. That's why the SAB wanted it to completely separate it so you wouldn't have no issues with them trying to cross contaminate or cross dispose of.
I mean, that's fine if that's what the SAB had written in the past. To me, healthcare related, that doesn't make any sense at all. And you could still get the pigs from across the hall and mix it with the human cadaver tissue if someone wanted to be that nasty. I mean, that's part of the honor in doing this, is if you do have animal parts here, you're not mixing it with the cadavers, because those cadavers are cremated and the ashes are sent to the family. So,
Oh,
you know,
it's happened in the past. I mean, this is in the
Oh.
past that I'm talking about. All the with all the new stuff, we're just trying to keep it from anything
Sure, of course.
happening. Is all
well,
we're
I think that's a statement in your standard operating procedures of no human tissue will be mixed with animal parts or animal dissected tissue,
So
versus.
currently in statute in chapter 691 and in Article 22 of the rules, Texas Admin Code, we don't have any barriers actually in place anymore. If it had been done in the past by the SAB, it's not it didn't carry over into 22. So that doesn't prevent, though, each individual facility or institution from implementing their own rules when it comes to that. But or you as a committee making a recommendation to the commission.
Well, I don't know that we have
But-
authority to regulate non-human remains. That's not under our jurisdiction. And I'm looking at the old SAB rules. I can't find anything in their old SAB rules. Now, of course, we're having trouble with the internet here. The Secretary of State's website is down. I'm going to other sources for it. But I could not find anything that would prevent, like you said, a porcine heart from being in the same room as a human cadaver.
Right. That's why I say that this is a SOP thing, not a law thing. That's if 100% put in there, do not mix the two, don't do this, you're not allowed to do that. That's your internal organization's rules. But to say that I can't have a heart from a porcine specimen in the same room as you're teaching someone a heart on a human makes absolutely no logical sense to me. But I get the respect part of you don't mix the two tissues when you cremate. What happens at crematoriums, all that, that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about the fact that
but we did put in our rules that you were not even going to mix remains from different individuals. Remember, we're cleaning the retort between those. That was in the anatomical rules that are up for adoption in August. And that's between human remains, and I think that's a basic standard. We don't mix.
Yeah, if that's the foundation, then anything below that or around that.
But I would not recommend this committee get into
I think that's outside of our
animal
scope.
remains, because I just don't think we have the legislature hasn't given us regulatory authority over that.
I agree. I think it's outside of our scope, and I agree with Ali. I'm more concerned about the actual human coughing next to me versus the porcine spine. Right.
Anything else, gentlemen, ladies?
I think we're good.
Okay, let me make sure I save that. And so that's the event facility form they need to put in there. And so this facility host readiness. So this is kind of everybody involved at the hotel. I'm gonna just use the hotel, but it could be any non-purpose built facility, right? As in like, this is what you better be ready for on your checklist. So the event form's been sent to Maria's group. They have it. They know so-and-so is coming in 8 months from now. Here's all the stuff. Here's all the paperwork. Here's what we're gonna make it look like. Obviously, a lot of this is we're giving our best estimate of what it's gonna look like, where we're gonna place tables and stuff, and they can always amend those kind of things. The host that's holding this. So who is the host? This would be the hotel. This is the hotel manager. This is the convention center manager. Those kind of groups. So they would put their venue name, their address, who's their DRI, what their event title name is, and when the event is, and then they're going to have to double check this stuff too, because it's your hotel. You should know what tissue is being supplied and that you checked it, that they're registered. If it's a NATO AATB certified, all the documents are going to be there, the serology. So what we're trying to do here is the onus is not on Stryker or Medtronic. It's also on the hotel and the facility that's doing this. And then there's also an onus on the tissue provider, obviously, if they're an approved organization. So going through almost the same kind of stuff we've gone through almost every other group. How you're storing it, it's inaccessible, it's locked, people can't just walk in. Is there a security guy standing there, since these ballrooms have to have their doors unlocked because of fire issues and fire exits? Who's going to stop the little kid from next door running in there? They sound pretty simple, but it can easily happen. We don't want any of this stuff to happen. Can your group demonstrate their 7 air exchanges and have the certification and be ready? Because when the inspector shows up the day when you're setting everything up and you don't have this stuff, you as the hotel manager or whoever is hosting this just put this entire lab in danger. So the device company that sent their paperwork early ahead of time, got everything done, needs to also kind of stay on top of this. So they can look at this thing to the device company and say, is my group that's hosting this there for me following all these rules? Is everything there? So they can kind of checklist this stuff. Where are we storing the cadavers? If there's any hazardous chemicals, make sure we follow that. If it's not, you put non-applicable. If it's not non-porous surfaces, what are you doing to keep it clean? Are you laying down plastic? Is the plastic thick enough? Those kind of things. A lot of the stuff you'll see the same kind of wording from what we've done in the last few times. If they have medical waste, who's getting rid of the medical waste? Is the NATO the one that's in charge of it? That's where you would write NATO is bringing in tissue, storing tissue, da da da. You can write that in almost all the boxes that would deal with this. They have a vendor agreement with this Sharps Container Group and whatever it is, right? All the stuff needs to be clearly identified. And this is where the host manager is probably going to be like, radiation, what's that? Okay, they're going to use C-arms in my facility. What does that mean? Then they're going to have to make sure that the stuff is done. Hotel managers probably won't know what dosimetry is or REMS and those kind of things, but you're on the hook. It's at your facility. Just like when something's happening at my facility, I'm on the hook that if it's not done right, then I'm the one that's got to be responsible for it. You'll see a lot of the same similar type of things happening. And as a facility host, you should know the 4 pillars of, is this donor consents? Are they doing the right things? Is supervised qualified instructors? Is it a bona fide educational purposes? You can't play dumb and say, I didn't know what that is or what that was. If you're going to host these kind of events, you have to play the same rules as everybody else does. And holler at me if anything seem wrong. Specimens transported in and out for the same engagement. Specimen count, reconcile, or tear down. Approved tissue provider removes the anatomical specimens per rules. So the hotel manager should not be the one getting rid of the tissue, right? My perspective, it's a World Body Program brought it, they're staying with it the whole day, or NATO brought it and they're staying the whole day. That they're the ones that remove, bring in, take out, do it appropriately where people don't see tissue being moved out in the hallways, right? Whether it's boxed into cardboard boxes, however they're doing their shipping and moving and providing that dignity and respect to the donor.
Well, remember, we require the DRI to be on site at all times under the rule that's up for adoption in August. So
Correct.
There's no excuse to have a bellman carry a cadaver.
And that's why it says approved tissue provider removes, right? Not the bellman.
Yeah.
Folks, was there anything in these 3 or 4 pages that we're trying to set the same standards. We're not trying to set one bar here and one bar way low or higher. It needs to be the same standard so nobody feels like they're being ostracized or singled out. But
Dr. Ali, I have a question in general. It
Yeah.
seems like that a lot of these questions, because they're not expert in it, I know they need to be aware of what's going on in their facility. They're going to be getting help from either the tissue provider or the OEM, or probably maybe a combination of both. Does this form kind of allow for that? And because I know that they're signing as the DRI, but I just don't know that they're going to have all of the answers. I mean, they're going to have to get help filling this out.
No, I think that's a great statement. 100%. This is a team effort on this, right? So you're 100% right. The hotel manager is not going to know 99% of this stuff, or at least the rules, but the device company sure 100% should know, and certainly the NATO or World Body Program should know. And if they're the ones risking their names and reputations and their businesses to bring this event there or to bring that tissue there, then they should be working very closely with the hotel organization or the convention center organization to make sure everything's done right. So though this is the host looking at this is where the host needs to say, I have no idea what AATB is, and ask the NATO group or ask the OEM, what am I doing here? So they work together on this. And
I'm sorry,
like
I know it's out of process. I do have a question on this form, if I'm able to ask.
Who's this? Who's asking?
That's Tom.
It's Tom.
Make it brief.
Very brief. This form is not something that has to be submitted to the TFSC. This is just a readiness form, right?
That's correct. That's what it says right up here.
Okay.
What it's doing, Tom, is making sure that the host facility understands the laws and gets it, so they're not completely clueless. Because I think you and I both would agree that many years this has been done in hotel ballrooms, and the hotel people had absolutely no idea of the rules. I don't think I'm going on a cliff to make that statement. I think a lot of people just didn't know, and they said the striker guys will take care of this. I'm sure. I've got my hands washed of it. The idea here is no one's hands are washed of anything here. If you're hosting this, you're in charge of this. If you're a device group, you're in charge of this. If you're NATO, you're in charge of this. And each of y'all need to have the checks and balances on each organization to make sure it's done correctly.
And they all refer back to rules that are listed on the forms, correct? Or
You got it.
proposed rules?
Everything is right under each section, so it's pretty clear for them to read. And if anything changes, a proposed rule gets changed, obviously it'll be referred to here. So that's
Okay. Hey, in the chat, there was a question, anatomical facility persons can transport. Kurt wrote no, but our rule actually, that as we proposed it, that's up for comment right now, 206.4 does allow anatomical facilities to transport their own specimens.
that's correct. That's in the proposed rule, so they can.
Yeah,
I
and we
thought
didn't
2 weeks
change
ago
that.
in the 2 weeks ago in the meeting, we took that out, Dr. Ali, because anatomical facilities don't have vehicles or anything. They're just going to throw it in their own vehicle. I
Well, you're
remember
making
from the
that
meeting 2
statement,
weeks
but
ago that was removed,
no, but you're making a statement that an anatomical facility can't have a business vehicle or a truck.
but they're not licensed.
You don't have to be licensed to transport. You just need to be registered as a
It'd be
private carrier.
registered with the TFC. That's all it said.
Correct.
Yeah, but 2 weeks ago, I swear we talked about all that and the anatomical
We
facility
did.
was removed.
And nope, we said they had to be registered with the commission. That's all we said.
I'm going to wait for that meeting.
And the commission, when we voted to propose the rule, that language is in the rule. So we would need to, hey, it's not a final rule until August 14th. So if y'all think y'all should take them out, then let us know that. That's why we have a public comment period. But as it stands right now, they would.
Yeah, I would propose to leave it in, but that's me.
You can't say licensed because your facilities are not licensed right now because that's not what the law says.
Right. No one's saying the word license in the rules. It's registered.
Yeah.
So it just allows, it says a transfer and transport of bodies or anatomical specimens from one billed body program, non-anatomical donation organization, or anatomical facility to another for export of the state shall be done in an appropriate secured vehicle operated by a licensed funeral establishment, ambulance service, will body program, non-anatomical donation organization, anatomical facility, search organization, or common carrier.
Correct.
Yep.
And again, Kurt, the videos will be uploaded late today or tomorrow.
Yeah.
And then the inspection checklist, it should take less than 3 or 4 minutes. It's very similar as you would have done for a purpose-built facility versus a NATO versus a will body program. In essence, there's a little customization, but this is very identical to an anatomical facility. So same kind of information at the top, same kind of verifications, whether it's applicable or not, and what you can and can't do there at that facility. So this is Kyle using this to do his inspection. A lot of the exact similar things that we put on there. And then this part right here, things like this is going to be a little different, to protect the floors, walls, ceilings, light fixtures, chandeliers. That's different because there's no chandeliers in a purpose-built facility, anatomical room. But, the OR lights need to be clean. So stuff like that is, what are they doing to protect the floors, walls, ceilings, light fixtures, whatever it is? Because 12 hours later, if someone's eating in there, has it been cleaned appropriately and ready for public use in essence? A lot of the stuff you'll see is pretty much similar from the other time. I think someone had said, the DRI should be on site for the entire duration. You can't just leave and go play around the golf and come back and hope everything's going okay. There's your transportation thing that we talked about. I mean, that's always important. Make sure that the right people are moving in and out of the building. So this is what Kyle would do the day of the setup, right? So he can't come 4 days ahead and check it when none of the tables are set and something's set up for a wedding or something. And then, so if it's a Saturday event, Friday, they're probably going to set up that room. That's when he needs to come in and inspect and check and do all this. It should be, in essence, perfunctory because the event form and the checklist done by the two organizations should have them pretty much 99% ready, right? And when Maria's group gets this event form, they can tell them, I don't have this on file with you guys, and you're a month away. So it should be a kind of a continuous communication between all the organizations. So here, because the venue could be within 24 hours, inspector sees something, they discuss it, they try to resolve that issue immediately. And to allow them a chance, because if he says no thank you, I got 7 days to get this back to you, obviously the event can't happen, and that's not what we want. We want to have the venue done correctly. And so at this kind of point, hopefully our inspectors have gone through all this and everything has been done ahead of time, and it should be, like I said, perfunctory and easy to do. But if something's off, then they're going to have to fix it. The only things you really can't fix is the ventilation in 24 hours. You're not going to be able to get a new AC unit. You're not going to be able to get the ventilation done correctly in 24 hours. But the rest of the stuff, like, I don't like the way the security system is set up. You need to do it differently. Okay, we're going to do this. I don't like how you're storing it. How else are you going to store it? Okay, we're going to get a temporary this. All those kind of things I believe can be resolved. But if you run into something you can't resolve, I think the state of Texas is giving you ample opportunity, ample time to go through all this to make sure it's done right. And you have all the references to all the rules to make sure you know what's happening. Any comments about that inspection for the non-purpose?
We're good.
Oh, Charlie, I'm done. It's all you.
Good.
Okay. I will give
Thank
the
you.
screen
Thank you, Dr. Ali.
Thank you, Dr. Ali, for everything you've done on that.
Oh, listen, I'm happy. It wasn't just me. Everybody else added to it too in the group, but thank y'all.
And we thank you for getting this to our staff early, and Dave, this has been very helpful to us. So thank you.
Excellent. And I'll send the updated ones. There's just a tiny bit of changes we made, but then Maria, if you don't mind sending it to the entire group so they all have it and they can use and look and discuss. I hate for them
Yes.
not to have the originals that we did today.
And as a reminder too, everybody's gonna have a chance to do public comment. So once it gets back to us, staff will revise it, make it fit our forms, and then again, anyone else will have the opportunity to provide public comment.
We're meeting next week.
Yeah.
So we have.
Right, and
Yeah.
then we will have the stakeholder meeting as well, so that everybody can provide us their input and before we do the finalize for the commissioners.
Yeah, so probably next week we'll announce that, because we're getting agendas together the end of this week. So just letting y'all know.
Okay, we're good to move forward. Any other work groups need to report?
I was just wanting to do a follow-up in reference to our commercially acquired plastination and commercially acquired skeletal material from our previous work group. I apologize, I was not here to do the presentation of my notes, but I was under the understanding that possibly that was tabled in reference to the commercial plastinates and skeletons?
Yeah.
We sent that, we sent that off to the trio and
Yeah.
governor's office. So we are considering the plastination. It was the hotel rule was kind of tabled for a
That's
bit.
next.
The plastination is still, we took what y'all provided and have sent it, staff has worked it up and we sent it out. So
Okay.
we're going to have a stakeholder meeting next week on that probably.
Secondarily, and I apologize, I wanted to follow up. I know Maria had sent us out 2 meetings prior, the 206.1 and a couple of the others. But my specific, one of the things that I noted on the copy that I received, I know we had made some corrections on 206.1 and in specific reference to our what was it? Microscopic. Sorry.
About tissue?
Yes, the microscopic and laboratory material derived from a body or specimen. I know that on the copy that I have, there is the notation of where we had microscopic, comma, or brain specimens such as slides, paraffin cells, etc. But I thought that Commissioner Obiella had also added a comment in reference where it talks about the to the extent it is governed by other law in reference to like IRB certified studies, etc. And I just I was not able to get on the registrars to see what we had up for public comment right now to know if that was the version that we had actually put out there for public comment with the addition of the IRB material, etc.
That
So
material.
the rule that, go ahead, Charlie.
That material is supposed to be less than 50% of the organ.
And do we have it? I haven't seen what we have out there. That's what I'm asking, is that rule encompass all of that now that's out there for public comment and proposed as being the new rule?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, no, I want to be clear. What we published was approved by the commission at its June meeting. That was before our discussion on July 1st that you're referencing. So what is published and out for comment right now does not include that language. That said, I have taken the notes. I have a separate file here where I've taken the notes from y'all's comment on that staff is going to work together and we'll take all the stakeholder input. Right, we've gotten comments from y'all. We've gotten, I think, 4 other comments on various things, and they're going to put that before the commission on August 14th. But what is out for publication right now does not include that language we talked about July 1st. And that's because it happened after we had approved it.
Okay. But we do have it as what's going to be put forth to y'all, though. When the commissioners are going to be reviewing it with those additional notes that you have.
Commissioners will have all of the comments that are received in front of them, including y'all's.
Okay. And then they'll decide if they want to add at that time.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I just wanted to clarify. Like I said, I knew we had done it. I just where we were at in the order.
Okay, this next one's going to take a bit. Does anybody need a break before we start the next item on the agenda?
I moved for a 5 or 10 minute recess.
Let's recess for 5 minutes and come back. It's 11:19. Let's be back here at 11:25. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, 3 of us are back.
I think they're coming.
That's why I said 5 minutes, so it wouldn't take but 10 minutes.
There we got a quorum.
Can y'all hear it?
Yes, we can hear you.
Can't see
We
you
have
yet.
we do have a quorum. Myself, Dr. Ali, Jason Jones, and Jason Owens are on for sure.
Mike's there.
Kurt, are you back alive? Okay, there we go.
I'm back.
There we go.
Okay, I'm gonna call the meeting back in session. It is 11:27. And as far as public comment going forward today, that needs to be made on the public comment when it's posted. And then we'll also have the stakeholders meeting so the public can comment at that time. Is that fair to say, Chairman Opiella?
Mhm.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I just taken a drink. Yes.
That was in your drink? Okay. Okay. So our next item up is review and discussion of proposed minimum standards for hotel and convention center meetings, facilities, including types and authorized education and research that may be conducted, and qualifications of individuals conducting such activities and facility requirements necessary to support those activities. So
we just did that, didn't we?
Well, so we need to go over it a little bit because of the fact that there's some comments out there rumored around from different the commission is not comfortable with us having things in hotels. Pretty sure of that. I think the Sunset Commission is not in favor of that either.
You want to tell them that?
So what we were discussing right now is, although we want to table it because we're not going to be able to do anything, the work has to be done. If we want to, Charles, if we want to create a work group that can start looking into that, and then give us enough time to start asking questions, to see how the program, that particular section is going to look like, and then bring it to staff so ourselves as well have enough time to review this particular area. We would like to request that from the committee, instead of just going ahead and table it at a later time. Maybe just do a little bit of some type of research on that particular area.
So I think we do need to do a work group on this to make sure, because I know I've already received some calls of pushback. Okay. So we got to have our ducks in a row to present this right.
I agree.
So, Jason Jones, Jason Owens, and Dr. Ali, you want to be on this?
Be happy to.
Sure.
You good with that, Jason Owens?
Yes.
Okay.
The two Jasons.
Okay.
I was muted.
Both Jasons. So that makes it easy. And
Yeah, did that.
look into and make sure that you've got, when you're looking into this, there's got to be step by step of how you're going to disinfect that room, because every comment I hear from anybody is, but I'm having dinner in that room later that night. Okay. And then the other comment is in there we say that the person in charge of it has to be there all the time. You can just say our designated representative, because if they do something where they leave something there overnight, where's it going? We need all those kind of details have got to be specified out, or it's not going to fly with the commission. It's not going to fly with the Sunset Commission. Okay.
Let me make sure, Chair Fulton, what our charge is here. I know we did the inspections, and what if state of Texas decides to go that way, this is what you got to meet on the inspections. Are you asking for more clarified process from step A to step Z and every single little thing that needs to be met?
Yes.
But are you
We
asking us to take into account stakeholder input such as the sunset, such as other commissioners? I mean, are you just asking us what this committee feels about this happening at
I
those
want
events?
I want us as a committee to figure out what we can present to the commission to convince them to go with this. Okay.
And we need standards for events that are held in public hotels.
From y'all's specific
Public places,
advisory
period.
perspective.
Yeah, public places.
Yeah. And then
It's
we'll,
public places, period. If it's at a convention center or if it's in a hotel, either way.
and then Dr. Lee, Maria and I will, if there's anything from Sunset specific or on a staff level, we'll add that into our staff comments. But yeah, definitely y'all are the industry that are doing it out there day to day. So from your perspective, for these standards would be best.
And can we get those before the next meeting so that we can digest it?
This is going to be an outgoing issue. We're not going to bring this to.
This will not be on the agenda for August 14th.
So
this is too big of an issue for us to try to tackle. Our plate is already full with the rules adoption and the plastinated specimens and the serological rule, and hopefully this transportation rule. If y'all get to it later today. Other than I just can't get it together in time for the August meeting. This is going to be probably in an October commission meeting.
Yeah, I agree.
And I know
Covers not just hotels and convention centers, but hospitals, surgery centers as well. They fall into that same category.
Public spaces.
I would probably define this as any entity that is publicly accessible freely, that could have circulation around said space, or because this, again, I know this all comes from Mr. Saunders' public autopsy and 24. So, and I mean, there's plenty of it out there. We've got to be very meticulous on how we put this together, guys, because I'm sitting here right now looking at some just on screen at pictures of promotionals for different groups that put on in these spaces. And I can understand why there's plenty of room for error.
Yeah.
Would it be easier to define the two as purpose-built versus non-purpose-built versus the public part? Because if it's not purpose-built, then it's going to be
purpose-built, just like you've already defined.
Right.
It's not non-purpose-built is anything that is not built like Med to Market or any other anatomical facility.
Well, like a hospital wasn't built to do cadaver labs. It was built to do live human patient care, or a surgery center. So all those are non-purpose-built, convention center, hotel, wherever you want to do it, right? Airbnb.
Yeah.
All that junk, right? So, yep.
Okay. Good deal.
SDRs.
So, you got something, Maria?
No. Just to confirm, Jason Owens, Jason Jones, and Dr. Ali. Okay.
Correct. Okay. So next item is review and discussion of the informational document required under section 691.0225. Recommendations regarding its content and publication and availability.
Right. That has been,
it
was published under the website. So the information is out there. It was whatever we, this one did not have to go to the commissioners for approval. So it's already published on the website.
Yeah, if you go under human anatomical donation programs, which, by the way, our new, y'all know her already, but our new director of human anatomical donation programs is here. She came up with the name. And it is the second item right under this advisory committee is a guide for donors and families.
Yeah. And I read over it. I think it's in good shape. So. So we'll be recommending that to the commission on the 14th, correct?
Well, no, there is no, the commission,
Okay.
the staff just did it. So
Okay.
we don't have to vote on it. So we're good.
Okay.
Thank y'all for working on that last meeting.
This next item is review, discussion, and recommendations regarding transportation standards, common carriers, subcontractors, and other entities involved in transportation bodies and anatomical specimens. So I thought we'd kind of gone through this pretty good and said that, you know, whoever's going to be transported has got to be registered with commission.
Yeah, we had a work group that went through all that and even made the registration document that an organization would use. I spoke to two different stakeholders about that, and actually I was happy to
We
hear
got
their.
the registration document, but our staff has not received language for a proposed rule. That's what I need.
I thought we gave that to you guys
Yeah, I thought we did too.
Okay.
because I think I turned in an entire work group transportation. Let me
Yep.
get my thing
Staff
here.
is telling me they got the form, but they didn't get the proposed rule. So if you could send it that way, I'd like to get that pushed through the
100%.
chain of command here.
We have the transportation acknowledgement form, but not.
We have the form, but not any proposed rule language, Dr. Ali. So if you just forward it to us, then
Yes, sir.
we'll get it through the process. I want to try and get this on the 14th agenda in next week's stakeholder meeting.
Yes, sir. I will find it and get it to you.
Okay.
Okay. Next item, review and discussion of stakeholder comments and recommendations concerning proposed rules of future commission consideration.
And I know that y'all had done the comments on some of the rules that are up for publication, but if y'all have any further ones, that window closes next Monday.
August 9th.
August 9th, sorry, 2 weeks from now. So if y'all have anything else y'all want to get to us earlier rather than later would be great, but that window closes August 9th.
Commissioner Opiola, on the transportation, was there a 206 number to that?
I don't have it yet because I didn't get the rule language, but we would, what it's anticipated to be?
Yes, sir.
Hold on 1 second. It will just follow next in the sequence. It would be 17.206.17 because the plastinates is 206.15. The bloodborne pathogens is 206.16. So this would be .17.
Okay, that's probably why I didn't have that part. Okay, I'll get something that in essence goes with this acknowledgement form and refers to it and get it out hopefully today or tomorrow to you guys. And then if you don't mind distributing it to the team so they can all take a look at it because it'll be a new proposed rule.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Discussion and recommendation regarding standards and requirements governing the transfer distribution of whole bodies, segment parts, and specimens. Didn't we already do that? I think we skipped down to that and did that one day and went back to something else. Didn't we?
Yes.
On that discussion, Charlie, I think we left off mortuary colleges on the exemptions.
No, we discussed mortuary colleges that had to be a licensed embalmer.
To make the transport?
Oh, to make the transport mortuary colleges, I mean, they would cover anyhow because they've got a licensee there.
Well, I mean, I talked to Commonwealth. Commonwealth said they got a funeral home establishment, so they're covered, but I don't know about San Antonio and Dallas Institute. He said one's a commercial establishment. I don't know if the other one is.
If they're embalming there, they have to have a commercial establishment with license. That's the law.
Yeah, I understand that. Okay, I didn't know what they had up there.
They have to. So I was the FDIC of Dallas Institute for years. They have to have an FDIC or an embalmer in charge at their location.
Are they a funeral home too, like Commonwealth, or are they just commercial?
No, they're commercial embalming establishment.
Okay. I just want to make sure that they're all included. I don't want them to get.
Yep. They are included.
So are we asking for another 206 for agenda item 10, or do we not have that in all the?
I thought we already had it.
Yeah, I thought it was all in the rules and regulations of everything.
Yeah, that's already in the proposed rule.
Okay.
So now one of the things is the funeral side of this really this rule would apply to both sides, right? So that's why we might put it the same language in the funeral side, because this whole 206 is all anatomical. But that's why we needed to get the language so that the staff could kind of figure that out.
Okay. But on the down here on the next one we were going over before we went back to that, the governing of the transfer of distribution of the bodies and stuff, we're good there, right?
I don't know that we have anything new other than what y'all proposed in the rule package that's up for comment right now, unless y'all have something else.
Okay, I'm just going down the list here, so I want to make sure.
Yeah.
No, we should be good on that.
Discussion
Serology's already done. The 11's done.
Yep.
11's done. Discussion of jurisdiction of commission regarding activities. We've already done. Talking about eye tissue banks and everything with the commission governing that.
Yeah. So we had a call. What was it, last week or was it 2 weeks ago, from the Oregon procurement organizations?
That was last. Oh, that was 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, 2 weeks ago, because we didn't meet last week. So about 2 weeks ago, the Oregon procurement organizations got on a call with staff, and they were concerned about what the commission's jurisdiction was over their organizations. And we invited them, when we talked to them, to come to this meeting. I don't know if there's anyone that's from the Oregon procurement organizations that's on this call right now. But if so, identify yourself, because if you look at 692A, it says that tissue.
You just got muted.
Sorry. Finger hit the hit the thing. So I don't know where you left me, but under 692A, eye and tissue banks can accept donations, but only in coordination with the commission, with the Funeral Service Commission. And we don't have, I guess the Oregon procurement organizations are concerned about where that jurisdiction begins and ends over their activities. And so I invited them to come talk to us today. I don't know if anyone's still on the call from them. I didn't hear anybody at the beginning. But we had a discussion, if you remember our last meeting in June of the advisory committee, about a large number of tissues are not actually used for transplant. And what happens with those? Where do they go into the stream of specimens? And that's why I think it's important that y'all guide us in this, because we're kind of at a loss for how to handle this 692A provision.
I thought, Commissioner O'Peel, I thought that if it's not on the death certificate as donation, that they were exempt from this. It was only if if they donated, the death certificate had donation on it, then that specimens that were used for research, I thought was kind of, last meeting, correct me if I'm wrong, that we were looking into that. But if it had to do with the death certificate, if it didn't have donation, if they donated the eyes and the death certificate didn't have donation with cremation or anything else, then we didn't have any jurisdiction over those. Correct me if I'm wrong, gentlemen, but I thought something about that. We discussed about that.
And if it's less than 50% of the organ, then they were able to incinerate it.
Well, no, I think what he's stating is we had said that if a transplant donation organization that does the corneas and those kind of things that we're talking about received the body, and I still want to know the statement that was made that, you know, a vast majority of the tissue is not used. I still would, because I spoke to one of the procurement organization CEOs, and he had no clue who that person was, nor did they, he said, do they represent him, this lawyer that was supposedly said this remark that I never heard, and I still would like to know who this person is and have them cite who they are and who they're representing. But the statements between myself and the stakeholder were, I asked, I said, so what do you do with the other tissue, that's being claimed that you guys are disposing of or using for other purposes and stuff? And taking that information when we discussed our last time we had our meeting was, if they're being used for research purposes afterwards, let's say they just take the cornea and maybe one other item, and that's 5% of the body, what happens to the other 95% of the body? If it's consented to research by the donor, then that's going into the research section under IRBs. And I asked him, are these under IRBs? And he said, yes. Then that's exempt and excluded out of us now, is my thought and understanding on this, right? So
that's actually, I mean, I don't know that I would agree with that, given the 692A.011, which says that an anatomical gift may be made to the following persons named in the document of gift, ... an eye or tissue bank, except that the use of a gift of a whole body must be coordinated with the Texas Funeral Service Commission. So other than the eye or the tissue, the rest of the body must be coordinated with the Texas Funeral Service Commission. And I think that's the question that we have is, what is going on with these specimens right now? Where are they going into the stream of tissue, of anatomical specimens? And
and this is not a question that's like just new to us that we're exploring. There are other states that are starting to create some regulation over this. Specifically, state of Kentucky, they just signed by the governor House Bill 510 that's kind of overseeing that regulatory gap between what's going on with OPOs and if anything's going on the anatomical side on the state level. And so we would really appreciate if there was something that y'all as the committee could do as a work group into exploring this area of where there's possibly some gaps on the state level, because we know there's definitely not happening like federal oversight the way that we want to be doing on the state level.
Teeth.
So if I can speak for a moment to this, because I'll reinstate what I had spoke on when this came up prior. So the lines of demarcation for transplant and what we are talking about as far as oversight of a whole body, and back to the statement that Kirk made in reference to disposition designation on a death certificate. The OPOs in Texas that are procuring tissue, organs, etc., for transplant purposes are not taking custody of the whole body for the purpose of disposition. They are only simply procuring that said organ that the family has designated to be utilized. Now, on their paperwork, they can designate that if it is not a transplantable or they do not have a viable recipient for said organ, that the family can say that that said organ, eyeball, heart, whatever it may be, can be used for research. But the body has gone on to a funeral home or mortuary service or somewhere, or maybe even to a willed body program for donation of the remainder of that said body. And that's where whole body comes into play in the current statute. So
and are we sure that that's happening?
Yes, that is happening, because an OPO could not take custody of an entire body. They don't want to take custody of an entire body because they don't have any means of disposing of it.
Yeah, they're taking eyes, bone, and skin, those kind of things for transplantation, but the rest of the body is going back to a funeral home to have a funeral or going to a donation program.
Correct. So
there's also other tissues, I understand, that are being being recovered for use in medical devices.
Like
bone to be ground up, I guess. I need y'all's help on this, because we're kind of at a loss for what's really going on here. Tendons that are used for a medical device that attaches the bone whenever you have a surgery, a piece of your diaphragm. Those sorts of things are actually integrated into products, and then and they're not for transplant. I guess technically they go into a body at some future point, maybe, but it's not your traditional what you think of a cornea transplant or heart transplant or lung transplant. And
like the
are
skin,
those specimens? Are those anatomical specimens? Or are those what are those? Where is that line drawn? That's what we need to know, because obviously if it's an anatomical specimen, that's us. But if it's something that's a organ transplant, that's not within our jurisdiction.
That's gonna be transplant because it's eventually gonna be transplanted in.
Yeah.
Oh,
And two, the road that we're crossing now, folks, is the fact that a lot of our legislation that's out there was long before that we had these integrated medical devices that integrated human specimens, if you will,
Biological
human
specimens,
products in with
biologics.
it. So maybe it is something that we have to look at. If it goes beyond the actual transplant or simple research, and it's going to be used as a product later to be implanted into an individual. So, that's something we might need to consider. But currently, as ours is stated, anything that if the whole body is being donated, it goes through TFSC. If it's an organ, then that body is going to a funeral home.
Yeah.
Can I make a comment real quick about what Chairman Opiola was saying? So just a little science behind it, so demineralized bone matrix is a biological product they use. It's almost like a paste. And when you're implanting screws, rods, knee implants, interspinous things, they paste this all around it because it allows a matrix for the connective tissue, the bone matrix, whatever, to grow a scaffolding, right? So that way the device doesn't come loose, right? A total knee stem coming out of the femur or the tibia. I mean, you're starting to get to now placental and umbilical cord blood, those kind of things. So there's so many different things here. My caution in this is, I get it. If someone says, I want to donate my particular organs for transplant, the procurement organization gets it, says we can't use this for whatever reason, right? Then either the disposition of that body is a funeral, cremation, or donation to science. If it's donated to science, 100% it goes under funeral commission purview. If they're not just an eye group, they're a tissue banking organization. If the cornea can't be taken or the kidney can't be taken, but the skin, the bone, the patellar tendon that's used for ACL reconstructions is taken, cleaned of antigens, processed. This goes through an FDA process to be retransplanted into a body later on. I don't believe the Funeral Commission has the purview to come over that. That's a federal organization. Where I do believe the Funeral Commission comes into, and I think it's been clearly stated by the team here, is no procurement organization is going to take a whole body and say, okay, this is mine now, and I'm going to do whatever I want with it. They can't. They are going to either have the disposition that we just talked about, and if it's a disposition of science, then that goes under Funeral Commission. But the tendon that's used, the patellar tendon that's used later on for an ACL reconstruction, that's a biologic now. That's gone through the process, an FDA process. You can't just take a demineralized bone matrix and show up at the surgery center and say, okay, put this in there with your total knee replacement implant. So yes, you should take care of it if it goes under the donation checkbox after the procurement organization uses or doesn't use. But everything else that they take from that tissue, skin, bone, tendons, anything else, is part of the biological process that's used to transplant later on or to help implants transplant. So that will be put into a human body, or there's research to be done to show how it can be put into a human body later. I don't believe the Funeral Commission have the purview over that. If there's some other gray zone that I don't know about that you guys are talking about, that they're selling something on the black market, please let's stop that. But past
Dr.
that,
Ali, who regulates that? Because we didn't really have a straight answer about that on the state level.
It would be FDA regulated because it's going to be something implanted into a body.
Okay.
Right. Stryker is not going to take this paste and put it on their implants or have the implant show up or the biologic show up and paste it all over their implants if it wasn't approved. Right. So all these have federal pathways. I think it's a great process to have a work group that shows all the information as the pathways of what happens and what federal agencies involved in it and how it gets cleared. If there's a pathway we don't know about or it's a black market pathway, 100%. stomp on that, but I can tell you that the legal procurement organizations in Texas, I can't remember if there's 5 or 6 of them that take over the state. The last thing they're going to do is mess around with black market stuff like that, or I think they should know not to, right?
I'm not saying they are, not at
No,
all. I don't know. This stuff was kind of going over my head in
I just want
terms
to make sure
of what that was. So,
salacious things are not being said because of lack of knowledge in this industry that I work in on a daily basis, because I see so many implants being done per week in the ORs that this is the kind of stuff that's taken us from femur implants popping out on a 90-year-old lady versus it staying in and giving that person good health going forward. So we don't want to stop that kind of stuff. But if there's something that I don't know about, please let me know, and I'd be happy to help figure it out.
Perhaps the solution for this, Commissioner Opiella and everyone else, is that we do exactly what was asked of the TFSC and the SAB. Perhaps we look at the disseminating information that is being provided to the organ donors and ensure that there is a proper one-pager of all of the possible avenues that could be generated or that particular donation could go through. And as long as the donors are still consenting to all of that, then we've done our due diligence of providing full consent and a knowledge of consent of what is being used for. And then we can avoid the gray areas or the black market areas, or however you want to word it, is that we review their disseminating information, make sure that it is a full disclosure of what could potentially occur with your loved one's donation of their organ. Or body part.
We need to be dealing with science here and fact rather than rumor and innuendo. That's what I think you guys can help us with, because, I don't want, obviously, I don't want people to be discouraged from donating their organs, to help someone else live because of a misunderstanding of what is really going on. And you guys can help us with that. On a tangent of this, though, when you said tissues that are used for research, is that included? That sounds like an alternate pathway, kind of what education and research, that's what we do with whole body donations at anatomical facilities, right?
But
so where is that line drawn, Dr.
If you're
Ali?
procuring a tissue, let's say you're procuring the patellar tendon.
Yes.
For us to get to where we are now, that we use the patellar tendon or the hamstring tendon for an ACL repair, we have to first try it out and see if there's any opportunity, right? So you have to do research and experimentation to get to that point of saying this actually works, right? That's what the research and IRB institutions, the universities do, and the grants from the NIH do to get to that point of now you can actually implant this into the human body. So if you're going to stop that, or the funeral commission now is going to say, well, I need to know everything, then I think what you're doing there is you're putting a big hamper on research and science and experimentation to find out if this can be used, right? So
I'm not saying we're contemplating that, Dr. Ali. I just don't know how is this different? We need some help drawing that line so that we don't interfere with legitimate, research and.
But we drew that line last meeting when we said samples and things that were less than 50% of the organ was under the IRB. It wasn't under our purview.
Well, I think what Chairman Opiella is saying is, can you give me some facts and real information and pathways and algorithms as to what happens with this tissue and these organs, or if things aren't used? And I think the Commission and the state of Texas deserve a very clear and concise, factual data sheet that shows all the process. And once we have that, I think people will have a better understanding of it. And then we can look at, do we need to step in? Do we need to do anything? Is that already controlled by the FDA? Or NIH, the research program?
Do we want to have a work group to put something like that together for the commission?
We think that would be good.
Okay. So obviously, Dr. Ali, you got to be on this. Kurt?
I think it would be good to have, I know he's not here at the meeting and I want to volunteer him. What about Brandon?
Brandon, I was going to say, Brandon, you didn't show up, you got volunteered or voluntold. And
Mike or Jason, do your organizations do anything with like patellar tendon transplants or those kind of things, or DBM or anything of that sort? Okay.
we're not. I'm not a subject matter expert on that. I agree with everything that you just said, but we don't do that.
But will body programs, you guys?
And me thinking logically, like an OPO, if they were going to, and this is me presuming, so if they were going to take on a whole body, I don't know of any OPO that has the physical capabilities in terms of like freezer
Facility or-
storage,
Yeah.
we storage of, where we can store, 150 donors in a freezer. I don't know of any institution like that. And I've been in this business for 29 years, and we work with various customers, et cetera. I've never heard of a medical device organization saying we procured tissue from Mid-South transplant. So
Yeah.
it just hasn't come up. So I don't think it's happening. I can't say that for sure. Of course, there could be that gray area or, black market. And I mean, there's always bad players in any industry, but I just don't see them having the capabilities of sending out tissues that we're talking about in terms of surgical training.
So I've got Brandon and we got Dr. Ali. Who else wants to be on this?
I will. I will, Charlie.
Okay.
Hey, can we
I
do,
get, I
wish
get
we
some
had time.
interaction because, like, in next month, I got Life Gift, a procurement company here in Houston, that is requesting 5 bodies to take to their facility, and another Bio Gift too that actually comes here and trains and harvests on their plague. So I can get some input on them, what they think also.
Yeah, I suggest y'all reach out to them. Like I
So-
said, I specifically invited them to come to this call today. And I would suggest y'all reach out to these organizations to learn kind of
Okay.
what they're doing and report back to us. I
So,
would imagine another good deliverable from this work group would be a 1-pager or 2-pager that describes to the public what the various pathways are, right? Because
That could be included in our information packet. The
and that way,
information.
we could post it on our website to kind of help people understand this, because
Yeah.
I know it's a little bit above my head, and so that's why.
And I can see a room where there might be misunderstanding. So maybe what the agency has authority over and what the other side has authority. Like an example would be in the funeral side would be we get a lot of inquiries about cemeteries. Well, we don't do cemeteries, but we still get those inquiries. So maybe if we have an informational package as to this is a different set of a different program, different donation program than what the whole body donation program it actually is. That would be helpful.
Yeah, like a table of who do you go to if you have a concern. You go, with whole body donation, you go to the funeral commission. If you have a concern about an organ donation, you go to X. I don't even know who it would be. Dishes. I don't, so I don't know who it is. We don't know. If you have a concern about biologics, go to the FDA, or hopefully there's somebody on state level that regulates that. I don't know.
Yeah.
Can we contact the people that run Donate Texas website?
Please.
That's a whole
That's what he's
Texas
saying.
website that we've got some people that think that when they register on Donate Texas, they think that they're donating to a Will Body program too. So there's a lot of confusion on their site about that.
And Kurt,
So
that's who we were on. That's one of the entities that was on the call with us 2 weeks ago was Donate Texas. And, they're authorized through the legislature to do the work they do. So they're very responsive and very helpful.
Okay.
Yeah, I think Mandy can get you the names of the people that were on our call.
Yeah.
And
So just for clarification on this work group, what would be the overarching goal of information that y'all are wanting?
As mean, whatever you guys can provide us would be, I mean, I can have a 2-pager, whatever it is. But mostly it's just the
You
differences.
want the difference? You want
Right.
what the difference between whole body donation is and what organ donation is, and what the organ donation covers that wouldn't be covered by the commission.
Correct. So that way we
And-
can.
And if there's an enforcement compliance complaint, like a consumer complaint, like follow this track of
Mhm.
like, you donated tissue, go to this entity and call them. You did this, you can call us at Funeral Service Commission. Like public awareness, and then also potentially, if y'all identify that there is a gap that's of concern with regulation by the state, let us know so we can explore that from a legislative statutory perspective.
Okay, we're good?
Yeah, I mean, because we have what the legislature has given us right now, but we're, I think that maybe we're all learning. We're all learning here.
And just so, like, in case y'all don't know, Texas is the first state that is looking at these things the way that we are. No other state has modeled any of this for us. They're relying on the federal government to regulate or enforce, and the federal government isn't doing a great job from the state's perspective of the state of Texas. And so that's why Funeral Service Commission is trying to see, are there regulatory gaps that we as an entity can support the state in ensuring that we're protecting the public? Like that's the base question for all of this is, are we protecting the public within our purview that we've been given?
Okay,
Because I
so
think there's a lot of confusion among members of the public and the legislature, and frankly myself, about what is real here.
We'll come back with something that hopefully clearly identifies the pathways and the gaps and the issues and all those things for you guys.
Thank you, guys.
I think we have pretty much discussed all our prior work conducted by the committee.
Let's look at the rest of the agenda here.
Enforcement.
Yeah.
We need to recommendations for the next agenda items. And someone put in the chat that
I sent you the answer to the chat question.
to avoid disrupting the current meeting proceedings, I'm submitting a recommendation for an agenda item at the next committee meeting to facilitate an open discussion and establish clarity regarding who is authorized donation, who may authorize a donation of to a will body program.
So this is laid out very clearly.
Yeah, we put that out real clear.
This is the donor themselves is the ultimate authority, and then statute, and then Maria's going to share in the chat. Statute makes it very clear the hierarchy of agents, family members, and others. So we're very clear.
No gray area.
And I think our document that we published on our website actually lays that out, because we had talked about that when we had that discussion.
Yeah.
Good question.
Anything else? Do any of you guys have anything else y'all want to put on the next agenda?
I kind of do. I think our team is looking to see if the advisory committee can start looking at adding some of the enforcement rules into place.
Okay.
So I don't know how you guys want to tackle this, but it was a request from the enforcement side that we bring this up to you.
So for context, we're doing a 4-year review on our enforcement rules on the funeral side. Of course, 4 years ago, our rules didn't exist on enforcement for anatomical. So that's what we're mandated by statute to do that, and we need a procedure, I guess would be the best way to say that.
But what that looks like right now is if there's a fee schedule that's been published and available for the public to look at when it comes to enforcement mechanism on the funeral side, and it lays out like the different degrees of penalties. That way, from an agency enforcement, we know, like, okay, they did this. This is what the investigator found. So this is what our legal
Penalty would
team
be.
penalty is able to assess. That's the equivalent we're going to need to create on the anatomical side. So we obviously can do that internally as staff, but we're not, again, in the industry like y'all are. So you might be seeing things from different standards than we are. And that's why we thought the perspective on enforcement would be really beneficial from y'all.
Okay.
Because the
we can put that
SAB
on there.
rules were quite loosey goosey. I mean, I'm just sorry to say it was it doesn't comport with the Administrative Procedure Act, and so we need that's why we're doing this.
Okay. And so we've already planned a meeting for next Wednesday at 9 a.m. on the 5th. And so I would propose we have another meeting that we need to put out an agenda for on, let me get to it. I believe it's August
12th.
That's the 12th.
I
It'll be
believe
the
that's
12th, and do it at 9 a.m. also.
Okay.
And so everybody knows these are things that are not going to go to the commission for the meeting for the 14th.
Oh, no, yeah, we're way too late for that. The only things that
everything
are
else
on the
is
commission.
done.
Yeah.
We agreed that we would have everything done by the 1st to get to the commission, so we didn't have any of that pushback that they didn't have time to see stuff. So this will go for the October meeting.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. No, we're locked in at this point. So, but I mean, this is a big deal. So, I mean, this will take some work. So that's why we need to get started now.
We'll continue our meetings every Wednesday at 9 a.m.
Thank you for your indentured servitude to the people of the state of Texas.
So let me back up here on that meeting I just popped off and said we would do. Because on the 12th, I am not available. Because on the 12th, I'm in meetings in Lubbock.
On the 12th.
Yeah, well, and we have our commission meeting that week. We would love for you not to meet on the 12th, if you don't mind.
Okay.
So
let's skip
maybe
the 12th. Let's skip the 12th and go to the 19th.
Yeah.
Okay. And then I will be in Austin. I'll leave Dallas early. I'll be there the 13th to come out of the office and see what we need for the meeting. Okay.
I know it's available, but could you send out to the groups what the current disciplinary fee schedules and guidelines for TFSC is to each individual group member so that they have it, so they can be reviewing that, please?
Yeah, Mandy will take care of that.
Okay.
You have anything else for us that you want us to? I mean, we've been abusing you. So what else do you have for us that we as a commission need to think about?
Just me personally was what I went through earlier was the question. You have some side notes that we had gone through and discussed that you just be sure that you have. I know that you will, but as you're presenting each TAC and going through the stakeholder information with the commissioners, discussing each one, to please include your side notes.
Can I ask you a favor, Jason, or maybe Charlie? Can you all give us a consolidated document like everyone else that's doing comments on the rules? Is that too much to ask, or is that? I know we took notes during our last meeting, and I have those on my computer. Oh, okay. I get eyebrows that are up.
I don't have them.
Okay. I'll tell you what, Maria will send you my notes from I think it's
okay.
The meeting's also on the internet, right? Or it will be shortly.
Yeah.
So we have those as well.
If we had your notes, it would help.
Okay.
Can I ask one question, Chairman Opiola? I know when Charlie and I were at the last funeral commission meeting, I think the majority of the issue was they didn't feel like they had the paperwork ahead of time to be able to review and discuss. But a couple times, general statements were made of, I need the commission's team to give us more information about this. And I think the statement was made, well, this is the commission's team giving you that information. And it seemed like there was like a roadblock with some of our proposed rules. What can we do to help all the commissioners understand clearly why rules are being made? Because like I said, most of it is because we didn't have the information to them fast enough, but
Sorry.
did they have any conversation back and forth with you or your staff and team to go over items and discussion points so it's not happening at the commission meeting?
So we discussed this, staff did with Chair Opiella, and we made a recommendation that we do a public meeting, an all hands public meeting, between both the commission and the advisory committee, so that we can just kind of establish the committee, the introduced staff, because there's been a lot of changes over the past few months, and then make sure that the question and answers that can happen between the commission and the committee are able to happen in an open forum. And it's all public and done on the up and up. We thought that would be like the healthiest and most supportive way to like just get everybody on the same page.
I love that. I think
that way they know we're all here to work together.
Yeah,
I think
so we're under the the Open Meetings Act. So one thought would be is we could do this at a posted commission meeting and have y'all join via Zoom, and do it. We have our chair there, right? I don't know if y'all want to do that in August. We could.
Would we have to post that as a meeting for our committee too? So
yes.
Yeah, it'll get posted as a joint meeting for that secondary meeting that happens.
I think it's probably better that we do this outside of the regular commission meeting. What do you think?
You got a lot going on.
I think that's a great idea to having a public meeting like this ahead of time before the actual commission meeting where you guys make the votes. More of like an open discussion, ask all your questions, create some confidence between the committee and the commission and vice versa, obviously, and allow everybody to have open discussion, open talks. So everybody's got it on plane. So when we get to the actual commission meeting, when you guys are voting, there's not lack of understanding or clarity and people want to table things or start marking out major sections of our rules.
No, I'm fully supportive of that. Do y'all want to do that before the August 14th meeting? I mean, frankly, that's where these are going to be adopted, right?
Yeah.
Not what we're talking about here, but what we proposed back in June. I would like it to happen if we could do it before then.
Do we want to do that? Do we want to do that next week?
I mean, put something together next week.
Do we have time to get it posted?
You can even post it the Thursday if you need the 7 days extra.
Yeah, it would have to be the earliest we could do it under the Public Open Meetings Act is today's the 29th, we could have it. Oh, my day is not good Thursday the 6th, but maybe Friday the 7th.
Yeah,
I'm out of town.
August the 10th, 11th.
Oh God! I'm in love.
I'll send out a document with dates and times to everybody.
Yeah.
And you just respond to it. It'll be like a Google form, and you let me know like what options are available. And then staff will select the date that the most people can be there. That way we don't...
I haven't even asked the rest of the commissioners.
Yeah.
They're free. I know it's not a lot of time between now and then. I get it.
We'll just see what we can put together, and we'll make a good faith effort to see who can be there, who can't be there. And, if we want to, we can have another one before then, after the commission meeting and between the meetings, We're not.
I can tell you that I'm available the 6th, and then I'm not available again until the 13th.
Well, like I said, if not everybody can be there, that's okay, Charlie. I think as long as there's
I don't have to be there.
as long as there's at least 3 or 4 people from each organization to really have that lively discussion. I think that's the most important part.
As long as the commissioners are.
Yeah, I don't see a problem doing it on the 13th. That's the day before the commission. That's when they're reading the materials or thinking about these things. It'll be after we have public comment on the rules that's already been, that deadline is the 10th. Are y'all okay?
I can get up early and be there.
I can do the 13th. That's not a problem for me. And the 14th is the actual meeting.
Yes, sir.
I'm available both of those days.
That sounds like, for the purpose of what we're trying to accomplish, that sounds like it's going to be more conducive, because if we've already got all of our public comment back by that time, then there could be an active discussion between the commissioners and the committee to clarify and solidify some of the comments that may have been made to better help with the decision making on Friday.
I'm
That'll
very
work for
happy
me.
with
See if
that.
it works with commissioners.
And we're going to do this one remote or in person?
We'll
Or
have
both.
both available, so we'll reserve space to have the meeting and then also have virtual options.
And if y'all want to come here,
I'll be in Austin. I'm gonna get up early and be there whatever time you want to do it.
And I just want to clarify, being a committee or advisory committee member, if I did not sign up for any public comment for Friday's meeting, would we be in any kind of quorum issues
Yeah,
if I was in attendance for the commission meeting?
As long as you're not talking about anything that has to do within your purview, like, so just from a former city council member, you can all be at an event together or a meeting of another body, but you can't talk about things that you would cover with people on the committee with you at that event.
unless we could do what's called a notice of possible quorum
Yeah.
and post that for the commission meeting, because I know y'all are all interested in being there, baby.
So I would rather do that, because if we don't do that, then when we go to making comments, Dr. Ali and myself both can't comment. Only one of us can.
You have 7 members on this body,
Yeah.
so three of you
but
is
if-
less than a quorum.
But if 4 people show up,
Well,
if-
there we go.
you know what I'm saying? So
Well, I think what she was saying is if the fourth person doesn't talk or discuss and only 3 do, then you don't have a quorum.
Yeah.
But that also pertains to you in the audience. Y'all can't even necessarily sit to and pre-plan in the audience what you're going to say on behalf of each other. I don't want to. Yeah, so
I think
It's a bad idea to post for
we'll post it.
quorum. Like, we can, that's
Yeah.
easy to do, and it's
yeah,
again
I think
on
that's
the up and up.
safer. I think that's safer.
Probably that's
Oh.
probably something, just in my opinion, that we probably should consider throughout with any commission meeting. Is that particular?
Sure.
And we're happy to do
Awesome.
that. I want to also let you know that the meeting room is unavailable on the 14th, and so what we're gonna be meeting over in the Stephen F. Austin building. There is the meeting room is used by the Veterans Land Board and some other groups. It's going to be on the first floor of the Stephen F. Austin building on the 14th.
That's just across the way there, isn't it?
It is. It's across the great grassy knoll.
Yeah. Grassy knoll.
Yikes.
Okay. Anybody got anything else?
One public announcement, and then that's it for me. I just wanted to let everybody, the viewers, know that under the TFSC website, Human Anatomical
Donation program.
we did create a Google form that they can submit their comments. This way it might be easier for staff, myself, to track it down, as well as laid out the different rules that are currently being in adopted stages and the proposed stages, so that any public comment it's received.
Okay.
Maria, some of those links on there of the proposed rules they just go to a blank page. So you might want to check whoever's doing that.
I think we were having some issue this morning as well. So
The
we'll double check.
the Secretary of State's website has been wonky.
Yeah, it's not our website, it's their website. And so we apologize for it. There's something going on there's a service outage, not just affecting the Secretary of State. I can't even remote desktop into my work computer. So that should resolve itself.
Yeah. So, but I'll double check later on to make sure that the links are working. But yes, we'll if they're not, then we'll figure something else out to lay them out in the website as well.
And just so y'all know, we're working diligently to fix our decade-old website.
Yeah.
So, and then would you have an update, Maria, on the registration system?
It's really looking, we talked to the developer yesterday. We were trying to get a date. There's a few things that he has to test, but what I gather was that we can be seeing this within the next, hopefully 2 weeks as well. Obviously, before we do go live, I would like for the advisory committee members to go through and test it out, kind of see what it is, so that I know last time when Kurt was available, he brought a lot of information in it. So I'd like for you guys to do the same, just kind of look at it. I don't know if I don't know how that's going to look like, whether we just send you guys testing login, or whether the developer is just going to meet with you guys and just kind of work through it. I don't know the details of that, but definitely would like for the committee members to meet to review them before we actually go live.
The idea is that we'll go live once our rules are adopted.
Mm-hmm.
That's the hope.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
A pilot session would be great.
Okay.
Anything else?
Yeah, I got a question for the committee. I got some of the anatomical facilities in the past, the SAB has allowed them to go to a place to be x-rayed for Mako or something like that without them being inspected. Because it's a quick end, they never, it's a 5-minute MRI or CAT scan or whatever the heck they're doing, and then we leave with it. We never left it there. Are these facilities, they're asking me, are they going to have to be inspected to have a 5-minute MRI if it's not being released to them, chain of custody is not being released to them or anything like that? I told them I'd bring it up.
I mean, who's got custody of the specimen?
Like me, if I get a Mako request.
Are you going with? So here at the school, so if we're doing an x-ray like of a head, I go with it. I stay with it the entire time and bring it back.
Correct.
And it's in our facility here. Are you doing that?
Well, there's some in our facility and some that aren't. Some that are independent outside.
Okay, but are your people staying with the specimen?
Oh yeah. No, we don't release it to nobody. Because
Well,
on
they're
the
traveling
funeral home
with it?
side, on the funeral home side, we're legally able to do that. On this side, I just got to make clarification for these people that are asking me, are they going to have to pay the $500 inspection fee for, once
think you
every
inspect
6
that.
months to do that, to have a scan or not?
I don't think you inspect that because you're using a piece of equipment and coming right back with it.
Yeah, and Kurt, you're not dissecting and doing the lab there, right?
Oh, I know.
Right.
Just
Exactly.
imaging the
No,
body
100%.
at
Right. Right.
You can't bring an MRI to your facility because
Right.
it's
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a chain of
These are
custody
just
thing as long as
I get a lot of these questions on everything on all the different devil advocate stuff, so I just want to make sure so I can instruct these people.
I'm just clarifying that your person or you is staying with that body
Correct.
while it's being MRI'd and bringing it back.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. All right. They're going to be happy with that.
no, that's a good
Okay.
question.
Okay. Anything else, anybody?
One
Have a
more
motion.
thing for Commissioner Opiella. Sorry, Charlie. Our NIH brain thing that we discussed 2 weeks ago that said you were going to check into it, Commissioner Opiella, we're still having all kinds of issues with it, trying to get the approval.
Maria.
Carl, I know we talked about it. Vicky's not on this call. Can you reach out to us in an email so we can follow up with you?
Well, we have numerous times. Vicky told us that y'all approved the transfer, but not the invoice. But 2 weeks ago, Opiella said that was waived, and we were still having conflicting with these people because the NIH grant's about to run out, and they're freaking out on all this stuff that they can't get the approval to send it in.
Okay, let me get back with you. Let me go back into the office and get back with you, okay?
Okay, I'll send you the email, the updated one, what they asked.
We apologize. We thought this was taken care of.
Yeah.
I understand. It's just slipped through, but these doctors are really getting very edgy on me, and I'm like, I'll bring it up.
We don't want that. I'm sorry.
That's that understandable. It happens.
Okay, last chance.
It's 12:30. Turn it off.
I have a motion to adjourn.
Second that motion.
Yeah.
We're adjourned.
Thank you all.
12:31. We'll see y'all next week.
Thanks,
See
everyone.
ya.
Bye.